job is to protect our children.
The app, formerly known as few.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Ned Ghost Rider broadcast. I am Ned Ghost Rider. Most people call me Ghost. How's everybody doing on this Thursday morning for me? Afternoon for some of y'all. But how's everybody doing today? So basically, I watched One Piece live action and went to bed last night. I didn't really do much after stream. But I am alive because I have to work this afternoon, which means I can't go live at my normal time. But we're going to do some fun React content today. Becca, thank you for the first. Supa, thank you for the lurk. And thank you for the resubscribe. I'm polishing clips from the past few weeks. We had quite a few good ones, more than I thought we did. Oh, I know we definitely had a lot of bangers. I've gone through them briefly. And there's like several I want to edit and put out in a short. But I don't have time. So. But yes. So. Sound like you talk for a half second. No, I was getting a video ready. So it played. And I just turned on my PC and I threw on Soph Stream to lurk. And I didn't have the audio set up correctly. But anyway, I'm live and alive. I want to be live like 2 hours ago, but you know, that bed felt oh so good. So yeah, so I have a couple videos lined up. We're gonna talk about Cuba. Could talk about Cuba for a little bit. And then we're gonna have some fun and watch some stuff about some hogs. So chat, hope you all had a good one. I hope you're ready to maybe learn a little bit. But we're gonna start with How Cuba Works by Bad Empanada. All right, let's see. I got to get this link set up. Go. There's the link. Go Daystream? Yeah, Jake. Daystream, because your boy has to fucking work. Boy has to work. Anyway, yeah. So, flip it on over. Go. And we go here.
People outside the country have any idea, but everyone's still got really strong opinions about it. Most of the easily available information on the subject comes from people who are hell-bent on making the country sound as bad as possible. And as
I'm at work right now.
People, some others, well-intentioned as they may be, end up overcompensating and painting the country as some sort of...
What's one of our mottos in here, chat? The boss makes $1, you make a dime. You best watch Net Ghost Rider on company time. Holly is doing the Lord's work. Jake is doing work now. Jake, I appreciate you doing the work.
Utopia. So, I'm gonna try to give you an idea of what things are actually like for an average everyday person in Cuba, based on reliable academic research rather than anecdotes, speculation, or stories from someone's grandpa in Miami. Here goes. First, we need a very quick and incredibly oversimplified Cuban history lesson. Back in the 1950s, Cuba was ruled by Fulgencio Batista, a brutal US-backed dictator who continued a tradition of US domination of Cuban politics that dated back to the Spanish-American War of 1898. Until 1934, Cuba's constitution, which had been written under immense American pressure, even stipulated that the US had the right to invade the country for pretty much any reason that they wanted. So Havana was basically a giant casino that catered to American tourists, while the rest of Cuba was full of sugar plantations and American...
It's so early. Who are you? I may not be your father, but I'm the father that stepped up. Someone had to take care of your mom, chat. I have to work. I have to work this afternoon. Why don't y'all ever read the title of the stream? Literally, the reason I'm early is because I have to work, which I put in the title of the stream because I know all y'all were literally gonna ask me.
American businesses that weren't exactly known for treating their workers very well. Unemployment was constantly at 25% or more. The poorest 20% of Cubans only received 2% of the national income.
I read it. Thank you, Jake. I appreciate you reading it.
Happy to torture or murder anyone who lamented the situation. Batista predictably wasn't very popular. So in 1950...
To be fair, I didn't ask. Yeah. I simply stated. Thank you. When I can chat and ask? Why would I read when I can chat and ask? You're literally reading the rest of chat. You are reading. I guarantee you, you are reading the messages in chat.
84 guys, among them Fidel Castro and Che
this
Guevara,
title of this
landed a boat
stream
on the
is
coast and tried
the
to
title of the
start a
stream is
revolution.
bigger than the chat.
While only 20 of them survived the landing, rampant poverty and widespread hatred of the regime made it very easy for them to recruit. And so they eventually grew into an actual army and overthrew Batista in 1959. This new government then executed a bunch of Batista's soldiers and police for alleged crimes against humanity, a bedtime story told to children every night in Florida. They also proceeded to nationalize a lot of stuff, redistribute land.
Don't tell me what I'm doing. Okay. Okay, Becca.
And so forth. Some Cubans reacted to this by leaving the country, and it also made the USA very mad, because this was the height of the Cold War.
I thought my camera froze for a second.
Oh, that's communism. And so Cuba became the USA's new official boogeyman, which is kind of bad for them because the US is like 1,000 times bigger and only 90 miles away. Especially since, as an official State Department memo said, they pledged to deny money and supplies to Cuba, to decrease monetary and real wages, and to bring about hunger, desperation, and overthrow of the government. Bad news. So, to try and achieve those noble goals, the US tried to invade Cuba and failed. They put an embargo on it, which is still active today. You might have heard of it.
But also the UN, literally every member of the UN has voted against the embargo except for the United States and Israel. Hi, Will and Shillington, welcome in.
Sponsored hundreds of terrorist attacks against it that no one ever talks about. And then there was that whole missile crisis thing where everyone thought the world was gonna end. It should have. Though the conflict continued after that, things calmed down a little bit. Or at least as calm as they possibly could be when a tiny island nation has been declared the eternal enemy of a world superpower that is literally right there. And so Cuba sought closer ties with the USSR and the Socialist Bloc, and they were able to implement a bunch of social programs like universal healthcare, free public education at all levels, and near guaranteed housing, among others. In the 70s and 80s, things in Cuba were pretty good. Hardly a utopia or anything, just relatively good compared to before, and people were generally optimistic. In fact, during this period, Cuba, despite being a tiny island nation, had the resources and the political will to allow it to project power as far away as in Africa, where it intervened militarily against apartheid South Africa in the Namibian War of Independence and the Angolan Civil War.
Okay, if you are on the side of getting rid of apartheid South Africa, not the side that is enabling apartheid South Africa, I think you're on the right side of history. I think you might be having the right ideology and the right morals. Maybe I'm a little old school, but that it feels like you have the right morals if you're on the anti-apartheid side. It's just me.
Then, in the early 90s, things got bad. The USSR and most of the Socialist Bloc fell, and suddenly Cuba lost most of its international trade and support. This resulted in an economic crisis known as the Special Period, and the US embargo left Cuba with limited options to combat this. You see, it doesn't just affect trade from the US, it's actually enforced even against foreign companies that trade with both countries. For example, ships that trade with Cuba cannot dock in the USA for 6 months, and well, if they have to choose between them, they're gonna choose the much bigger market that's right next door. And worse, as Cuba was struggling, the USA...
I mean, I guess that would be fine if you could be out on the water for 6 months. But when you're that close to the United States, I don't think you could really be on the water for that long. Also, I don't think you'd have enough supplies for the crew and everything.
They made the embargo even harsher, but by the mid to late 90s, Cuba had nonetheless managed to recover after making some fairly drastic changes. The most important one was the restarting of the old tourist industry, which had been mostly neglected since the revolution due to the social issues that it caused beforehand. And thanks to a lot of government promotion and development, it got big again really fast, even despite restrictions on tourism from the USA, and by the mid-90s it was already Cuba's biggest source of foreign currency. This also brought with it the legalization of the US dollar, along with specific types of private yet highly regulated small businesses, many of them directed at tourists. This was very significant as beforehand, almost everyone was directly employed by a state company. Since then, the tourist industry has only gotten even more important, and these private businesses, along with self-employment, have grown in popularity.
Yeah, and like as a American citizen, you're not allowed to go there directly from the United States. You have to hop through a bunch of obstacles and everything.
Some big things have happened in the meantime, such as improved relations with the US under President Obama, which were subsequently totally destroyed by Trump, the death of Fidel Castro, rest in peace King, the passing of a new constitution, and the appointment of a president whose surname is not Castro. Yet despite further reforms under Raul Castro, things have still not really changed that much since, despite a lot of speculation about how they were totally gonna at any moment now. Okay, so now we're finally at the present day after an incredible journey through history. It's time for the meat of the video. How stuff works materially for average Cubans. 72% of Cubans work for a company that's state-owned. This is actually quite a low percentage historically speaking. Back in 2007, for example, that number was 83%. Still, that's a big majority of the population. And according to the Cuban National...
I mean, us dumb Americans will be like, oh my God, the government's way too fucking big. But like the government's literally providing a salary so that you can fucking survive. That should be a government's job, is to ensure that its people survive. And if a majority of the population is literally working for the government and providing services for its citizens, why is that a bad thing?
National Statistics Office, the average salary in Cuba's state sector is 687 pesos per month. Now, how much is that worth? Well, Cuba has a dual currency system. There's a second currency called the Cuban convertible peso, which is backed by official foreign currency reserves and pegged to the US dollar at a rate of 0.93 to 1. Normal pesos, that is the ones that state workers are paid in, exchange with the convertible peso at a rate of 25 to 1. If you're confused, don't worry. Everyone is. What's important is that all up, this means that the average Cuban salary is worth about 28 US dollars per month. Now, that's really, really low, isn't it? These people must all be homeless, starving, and living in squalor.
No.
In Cuba, a lot...
Less money means more poor. Less money means more poor.
A lot of essential goods are sold at state-owned stores for heavily subsidized prices. For example, a pound of rice goes for about 3.5 pesos, which is about 14 US cents, and a pound of sweet potato goes for 1.5 pesos or 6 US cents. They also sell other everyday essentials like cleaning products, clothes, stationery, stuff like that, all priced to be affordable for people who earn an average salary. Now, relative to other countries, these still are not actually very good prices. For example, here in Argentina you can buy a pound of rice for about 0.3% of the monthly minimum wage. But in Cuba, those 3.5 pesos are about 0.5% of the monthly average wage. It is affordable, but it's not nearly as good as the price tag of 14 cents might make it look at first glance. This would be pretty bad, but there's more to it. Firstly, all Cuban individuals get a monthly allocation of food. This is called the ration book. Some people see this name and then assume that everything in Cuba is therefore rationed by the government, but it's more like a monthly allocation of specific amounts of goods at very cheap prices that you can also still buy from stores if you want or need more. For example, 2 pounds of ration book rice is 0.9 pesos. That's less than 2 cents per pound, or about 8 times cheaper than the price in subsidized markets. To quote a Cuban woman who's the head of her household, the rations only last 15 days at most. So it's hardly enough on its own, but combined with the government subsidies.
I mean, they're not providing all the food. They're obviously not going to be able to provide all the food as much as we want to do that. Okay, gotta head out. Feed blind cat pickles. Enjoy daytime stream. Bye, chat. Bye, Supa. Thank you for popping in, and thank you for the resubscribe. As much as we want them to be able to provide food for everybody, all food all the time, literally a half a month's worth of food saves so much money. That saves so much money for people. That saves so much money that they can then use and put it into the economy or use for any other goods that they possibly need. Like, how much food does the United States provide its citizens? Zero. Fucking zero. Like, feeding your citizens is not a bad thing.
Subsidized stores, it even things out relative to other countries. The Cuban state also more directly provides free meals in many other cases. For example, workers at state companies receive a daily 15 peso lunch allowance, there's free school lunches, free meals in hospitals, free meals for the elderly, etc. All up, it's estimated that these programs account for a total of 41% of Cuba's calorie intake. And due to other public services, Cubans also have to budget for fewer costs than people in other countries, which frees up more of their salary. The most important of these are housing, healthcare, and education. Firstly, let's talk about housing, since for many of us, simply paying rent and bills takes up a huge portion of our monthly income. For example,
Yeah, the United States, it's a fuck ton of money just to pay for rent.
in big US cities such as LA and New York, the median rent is more than 40% of average income. And just speaking from personal experience here, there's been times where I've spent more than 60% of my income on rent. So if we didn't have to pay for rent or mortgages, things would be a whole lot easier for many of us. Well, in Cuba, people don't have to. After the revolution, tenants were given ownership of their houses once they'd paid a certain amount of rent.
What? They forced house ownership on their citizens? Oh my God. That's so authoritarian. They forced house ownership on their citizens. Jesus Christ. The humanity.
Whether the landlord was happy about it or not. And the state built additional housing that was rented out at 10% of the occupant's income. Then in the 80s, public housing tenants were also given ownership. Due to these programs, Cuba has a home ownership rate of 90%, top 10 in the world for context, and there's no mortgages, land, or property taxes to pay, so people just have to pay for utilities and maintenance. Houses must also actually be in use. If a homeowner dies or moves away permanently, their house is then passed on to others who live there. If there aren't any other residents who want it, then the government buys it at a fixed price, and then it's allocated to another family who'll put it to use. Swapping houses with other homeowners is legal, and since 2011, private sales are legal too, though the buyer has to be a Cuban citizen or permanent resident. Also, each family can only own 2 homes, one in which they live and one vacant.
Of course, we react when I'm working. I'm sorry, Ascal. Your boy finished Disco Elysium last night. There is a VOD, though. There will be a VOD, but I know you'll probably have some insight on these videos about Cuba.
Vacation home. Private rentals are also legal, though uncommon. Most rentals are of bedrooms in the family home rather than of entire houses, and the majority serve the tourist market. Utilities, unlike rent and mortgages, actually do hit the monthly budget. We can use electricity.
Are you in the wrong category? No, I'm in just chatting.
The most expensive utility, as an example. Cuba's electricity consumption per person is 1,434 kilowatt hours per year, or 120 per month. Within this range, the cost per kilowatt hour is 1.2 cents.
Says Disco for me. Nope. I specifically have just chatting.
So the average
refresh.
Cuban spends $1.44 per month on electricity. That is to say about 5% of their salary. This is pretty average.
You've had that problem before, right, Ascal? It's probably like leftover cookies or something.
Say that they're also paying the same amount for water and gas. That's a total of 15% of their monthly salary on housing-related costs. Considering the lack of additional costs like land taxes, rent, or mortgages, this is very low in global terms. In terms of housing quality, Cuba is well known for the rundown appearance of much of its housing, though this is generally just external. Inside, most houses function just fine. For some visual examples, here's some photos of some everyday Cuban kitchens, from an article by John C. Finn, an American cultural geographer.
So, one of the things you'll notice is how small their fridges are. So the United States, we have big fridges because we have grocery stores that are very far away from the people. So you have to stock up on things. So that's why the United States has larger fridges. However, other countries where they have plentiful stores and whatnot, they have smaller fridges because they can go to the store more often because they have either bodegas, grocery stores, or something like that that are like very close to their abode.
Most of them look about as good as any place that I've lived in.
But also my area is kind of like that too, where the outside of the houses look like shit, but the interiors look fine. But yeah, in Mexico, we just go down the street to the Roman market every 2 to 3 days. Yeah.
Though some could definitely use a fresh coat of paint, and the two houses from the countryside are
Also, it's unfortunate that their shit is literally still from like the 60s as far as like style and everything. That's what the fucking embargo has done to them.
visibly more ramshackle than those from the city, but that's something that's also visible all over Latin America. That said, there's definitely inequalities in housing quality in Cuba. Some people can afford better renovations. Some people don't have easy access to running water. Some families only have 1 or 2 bedrooms. And there's still some informal housing like...
It's the 50s, not 60s. My bad. In Mexico, it's a defense mechanism. You leave the outside look like shit because they won't try to rob them. Oh, really?
shanty towns. Cuba may approach housing differently to other nations and be quite successful in doing so, but that doesn't mean that it's perfect. But still, compared to the Latin American average, where 1 in 5 people live in slums, Cuba does pretty well on housing, and all without stuffing too many people into one dwelling. The average number of people per household in Cuba is 2.88, which is similar to Ireland at 2.85, and much lower than Chile at 3.7. Next, there's the famous Cuban healthcare system, which boasts some of the best outcomes in Latin America.
Yup.
The right to free
Latin
healthcare
America
has
in the
been
world.
constitutionally enshrined in Cuba since 1976, and this is provided through an expansive public healthcare system that also offers free dental care. As Cuba lacks access to the equipment
Free dental care. Nobody would have thought it. Free dental care would be so nice.
and medicine required to treat some advanced illnesses, partly due to the US embargo, this system is focused on preventative care. While in some other countries, people have to agonize over the cost of even a simple checkup, in Cuba they are not only free, but frequent checkups are very much encouraged. This means that many issues are detected and treated before requiring advanced care. Of course, sometimes such advanced care is still required.
Dude, engineers and doctors on the island are so good. They're so smart. They figure out how to do more with less. Yeah, 100%. That's because they have to, because of the fucking bullshit embargoes. That's why, like, all their the embargo forces them to have like old cars and everything, but they do everything in their ability to make sure that those cars survive. They do the same thing with like medicine. They do preventative care to make sure that the illnesses or sicknesses or diseases, anything, don't get to a point where like everything's dire, because they take care of people. The engineers and doctors are working with what they have. Like, could you imagine, like, would Cuba basically be like Wakanda if the embargo didn't exist? I think so. Okay, maybe not that far, but...
In these cases, Cuba can struggle to provide it locally. Still, it gets good results, even apart from just its high life expectancy. For example, adjusted for age, per 100,000 people, 122 Cubans die of cancer per year, which compares favorably with the 149 per 100,000 of the USA. And again, it's all totally completely free. Literally zero costs, something that few other countries can boast and which saves the average Cuban a whole lot of money. Then there's the education system, which is also completely free at all levels, from kindergarten to PhDs. It's also of very high quality for the region. In UNESCO's Education for All rankings, it's...
I wonder if Mexico would have embraced socialism as Cuba didn't get embargoed. I mean, they have it built in, right? They have it built in a little bit under like a different name to make sure that the United States didn't completely fuck them over. So I'm sure that was part of their calculation.
32nd in the world and first in Latin America, and the World Bank, in its assessment of Latin American education systems, said that no Latin American school system today, except possibly Cuba's, is very close to high standards.
Wow!
And also, contrary
wow, Cuba has high education standards. No way. Are Cuban people more educated? Yes, yes, they are. Yeah, but a lot of presidents have been crooks since. That's because the United States is also like supplying money to the cartels, whether it be through the demand for drugs or through the U.S. government preventing or bribing Mexican presidents to do what they fucking want.
Some weirdly common beliefs, Cubans can indeed choose their own career path, which includes what they want to study, where they want to work, you know, just like you. And there's also
I didn't see what the note was.
study, where they want to work, you know.
Did I ever tell you
just
about the
like you.
Zetas?
And there's
You might have. Fuck.
they want to study, where they want to work, you know, just like you.
Actually, probably more than you because it's free.
And
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
also some other stuff that they get more value from, such as free/heavily subsidized public transportation. All in all, it's clear that this $28 average salary goes a lot further than what you might expect. Comparing purchasing power between Cuba and other countries is very difficult because its economy is so distinct, but I think it's safe to say that the average Cuban has it at least as well as the average person in Latin America. Where it does differ is in those
Cartel that went off the rails and started the cartel wars in the 2010s. Oh shit! Really? They go off the rails because they were high on their own supply.
social guarantees. While they don't reach everyone equally and while they're hardly perfect, they're still there and they're enough to ensure that the vast majority of Cubans don't have their basic human needs unfulfilled. Needs that in most other countries will be left unfulfilled if you can't pay. And in Latin America especially, many people can't. That Cuba is able to provide these basic guarantees despite its relatively low levels of gross wealth shows that most other countries can do so too. The point of an economy is, after all, to serve human needs, not to just make numbers go up for the sake of it. The rest of us could definitely learn something from Cuba. But wait, we're not done yet. There's more complexities, caveats, and myths to cover. Remember what I said earlier about the second currency that's pegged to the dollar? And also the fact that 28% of Cubans aren't employed by the state? Yeah, so the state salaries that most people earn aren't the end of it. I just first wanted to...
No, they were trained by the CIA and the Rangers. They were a police force that was going up against cartels, which sent like $500 million to train them and then paid their salaries. Jesus Christ. Wait, so the Zetas basically became a police force to go up against the cartels? So the Zetas were a cartel? We funded a foreign paramilitary in a different country? Get the fuck out of here. I'm shocked.
Show what things are like for people who do only live off that income. Many of those state workers supplement their incomes in other ways, legitimate or otherwise, and that often involves convertible pesos or dollars, which from here on out will simply be referred to as dollars because they're basically the same thing. Perhaps they raise chickens in their backyard and...
Well, term 2, when he won, he just dropped their salary. Mexico couldn't pay for them anymore, so they let them go. They joined the Gulf Cartel. Enforcers? Oh.
Sell eggs to their neighbors. Perhaps they moonlight as taxi drivers. Perhaps they go and play guitar for tourists.
Wow, so we really fucked over people.
On the weekends. Whatever it is, many Cubans have such extra sources of income. And these income sources are very important because many products don't have subsidized prices and are instead sold at international market rates. Nothing that's particularly essential.
Once they got a taste of the money they can make as a cartel, they obliterated the Gulf Cartel in a brutal way and then started taking over other areas. Oh, man.
Per se. These products include things like running shoes, TVs, electric kettles, smartphones, etc. These are sold in government-run stores that are essentially designed to get people to spend their dollars so that the government can remove them from the economy and get them into their budget. They're literally called foreign currency recovery stores. Dollar incomes also give people better access to the more expensive private markets, where they can find more luxuries and also a wider selection of basic goods, such as specific ingredients that there might be shortages of in state stores. This doesn't mean that people in Cuba are starving, rather that...
So yeah, all the bloody videos, images that went around those days, that was all Bush's fault? Of course it was. Of course it was. Bush's fucking regime was so bloodthirsty. not only in the Middle East, but just kind of everywhere.
At times, someone might want to have, say, chicken for lunch, but find that there's not any left at the state markets. As anthropologist Hannah Garth wrote, Cubans face a form of non-extreme food scarcity where certain ingredients are nearly impossible to acquire and others are difficult to find, but something is almost always available to prevent hunger. So there's always something to eat. It just might not be what the consumer specifically wants in.
Yeah, it turns out they studied torture techniques at Langley. They studied them for historical perspectives, Ascal. They didn't do them. They didn't study them for future use. Duh, Ascal. Come on, man. We don't torture people.
In that moment. This might sound like sacrilege to those of us who are used to supermarkets that are like full of everything, but keep in mind that most people in the world can't readily choose what they eat either. What's normal for us isn't close to normal for the majority. Private vendors tend to always have stock, which makes it easier to find specific goods. If of
Obviously, they didn't understand how to withstand torture. That's what it is. Yeah, that's what it is.
course the buyer can afford them. Though this isn't so much because they actually have more stock than the state stores, rather just that less people are buying from them. Of those 28% of Cubans who don't work for a state company, 5% work in cooperatives. Most of these are agricultural co-ops, while a small portion are former state companies that were sold to their workers. These cooperatives typically don't earn in dollars, and in some cases they even turn out to be unprofitable, so they might actually make less money than state workers do. Cooperative workers, therefore, are not necessarily better off than average. Of the other 23%,
Got a meeting and enjoy Cuba? We will. We'll enjoy Cuba.
Majority are private farmers. These farmers generally sell their produce both to state companies and private sellers, and since they also sell privately, they're involved in the dollar economy, and thus they're generally going to make quite a bit more than state employees. The others, about 500,000 people, are cuentapropistas, or self-employed people. These range from small family business owners of anything from like a corner store to a restaurant, to taxi drivers, to street vendors of all sorts, etc, etc. While they're highly taxed, these workers can still make more in a day than a government worker makes in a month, especially if they get tips from tourists. This is the source of the oft-repeated adage that a taxi driver in Cuba makes more money than a doctor. It's not that their salary is higher, it's that a taxi driver is obviously a lot more likely to deal with tourists and thus get tips from them than a doctor is. Even some workers at state companies can earn tips from tourists. Much of the tourist industry in Cuba is run by the state, for example, so everyone from bellhops to waiters to tour guides could actually be a government employee, paid the same sort of salary as everyone else, but with access to tips. Another big source of income from many Cubans is remittances from family working abroad. Exact figures are hard to determine, but surveys indicate that upwards of 60% of Cubans receive remittances. And yes, Cubans can actually leave Cuba freely. The requirement for an exit permit was removed back in 2013, so regular tourism and migration is now much more accessible. The biggest barriers to immigration these days are two things. Most importantly, that it's exceedingly difficult for Cubans to get visas through regular means. In fact, few countries will even grant them tourist visas, let alone work visas. And second, it's very
I'm assuming that's because of the embargo.
difficult to save the money for things like plane tickets, visa application costs, and a rental deposit in another country, since most Cubans are paid a salary that doesn't convert very well internationally, to say the least. Still though, with the growth in the dollar economy, it's becoming more and more common to see Cuban migrants abroad, aside from those who are able to get refugee status. There's also temporary migrants, such as the famous Cuban doctors, who earn hundreds of dollars a month, which by now I'm sure you understand is quite a fortune in Cuba. If you want to learn more about them, I made a longer video on the subject on my second channel, which you can watch by clicking here, or maybe it's here. I forget which side it is, I'm sorry. So yeah, the many different types of Cubans abroad often send money back home, and this is another way through which people gain access to dollarized markets. So there's many ways through which Cubans might have more income than just what the average state worker earns. And as you might be thinking, this causes some pretty big inequalities, something which has progressively been getting much worse since the 90s. It's not so much that quality of life has degraded for normal Cuban wage earners, it's rather that the living standards of those with access to the relatively new dollar economy have skyrocketed in comparison, and those without access to it are being left behind. And this obviously greatly contradicts Cuba's ethos of equality. All of this is a consequence of the promotion of the tourist industry to solve Cuba's economic woes in the wake of the fall of the USSR, combined with the formalizing of the dollar economy. That's more of an observation than a criticism though. Thanks largely to Mr. US embargo, Cuba didn't really have many other options to recover economically at the time, and its Caribbean location, its cultural capital, and the allure of its unique society all make tourism an obvious solution. The government knew that it would bring with it some of the social ills that plagued the island in the pre-revolutionary days, and they knew that they wouldn't be able to control the inevitable flow of foreign currency, which is why they just legalized it. All of this was considered something of a temporary necessary evil rather than a desirable permanent solution. And yet here we are a couple of decades later, and not much has changed. The government pledged to unify the two currencies way back in 2013, which would go a long way to fixing the inequalities that the dual currency system has caused, but it still hasn't happened and the tourist industry is still predominant.
I'm sure it's way more complicated than just melding them together. Because I mean, the other thing is like with the pesos, the Cuban government itself will be able to kind of control the supply if it needs to, if it needs to print more money or anything like that. But with the US dollar, the United States could completely fuck it over. But yeah, that's probably one of the reasons it's taking a long time. There's probably people thinking about the best way to implement it in the least amount of pain that it's going to cause.
Raul Castro's rule from 2006 to 2018, he implemented a lot of measures to move the state out of certain industries, especially service industries such as restaurants. The idea was that the new small business sector would take their place, and that since they make so much money by local standards, they could therefore be taxed to help fund government programs and everyone would win out in the end. But in practice, while Cuba still has its quality-free public services, the government has started to dial back its subsidies on goods and on direct provisions such as the ration book. So the people who aren't involved in small business or the dollar economy just aren't seeing any benefits from these policy shifts, and in some cases are even losing out. One more issue that I wanted to mention is the difficulty and cost of accessing the internet. Though this is partly caused by the USA refusing to allow an undersea cable from Florida to Cuba, ironically while also being the first to criticize Cuba for its lack of internet access. Contrary to popular belief, the internet in Cuba is actually open these days. Occasionally the government might censor a website, but it's pretty uncommon. And Cubans freely use all the same social media sites as everyone else. Most of the sites that are inaccessible from Cuba are actually international websites that deny access there in order to comply with the US embargo. And just one more note on the embargo. While it is a big deal, it's more of one for US-Cuba relations and for some specific industries than it is in macroeconomic terms. It's been around for so long that it's practically a part of the furniture, so the Cuban government knows how to account for it and how to work around it. Its worst effect isn't so much in stunting raw
that's being creative. That's being creative and figuring it out.
Economic growth as it is in limiting Cuba's access to essential goods, particularly medical supplies, and especially considering US dominance of the global pharmaceuticals industry. This is despite the fact that such supplies are at least ostensibly exempt from the embargo. Professor of International Law Nigel White wrote on the topic, although the licensing and sales of medicines and medical supplies was clearly permitted for the first time in 1992, thereby creating a humanitarian exemption on paper, the system of license application has deterred US companies from applying, given the rejection of numerous applications on the grounds that proposed exports would be detrimental to US foreign policy interests. Ships are also...
So basically, the United States did this to make it look good, to make it seem like they weren't basically dooming Cubans to death for very basic medicine that they should be getting.
Prevented from loading or unloading in US ports for 180 days after delivering cargo to Cuba. This has led to a severe reduction in the delivery of medical equipment to Cuba. The medical exemption to the embargo was effectively undermined by the very act that introduced it. Let's conclude. Okay, so things are hardly bad for the average Cuban, especially by regional standards, but they haven't really been getting much better either. Meanwhile, they've had to watch some of their compatriots suddenly start earning relatively ridiculous amounts of money. The intent of this video is to describe and diagnose rather than to propose solutions. It's not like the government of Cuba is going to listen to some YouTube guy anyway. But it is pretty clear that Cuba needs to do certain things, a lot of which they've already signaled their intention to do. Like it needs to unify the two currencies sooner rather than later, to curb these inequalities and to give more Cubans access to these goods that are currently only available on the dollar market. Though this would clearly have profound additional effects on the economy that remain to be seen. It also needs to do something to curb its reliance on tourism. This will take a long time to change, of course, but some sort of long-term plan is needed, unless things are just to stay the same forever. With the massive incomes of small businesses, one survey of 117 so-called entrepreneurs found that self-employed people have incomes that start at $600 a month. That is to say, 20 times more than the average salary of a state worker. The government should probably start excluding some of these high earners from welfare programs and subsidies, as it doesn't really make sense for them to have the same access to these things. This would...
I disagree. I think you need universality to ensure that policies remain in place. I mean, you could definitely tax them more. That would be a thing to claw back all the benefits that they get and probably don't need. I think universality for things is far more effective than austerity. I know Bad Empanada hates austerity, but oh, welcome in, Raiders!
The bus fares are on me. That's Marge. I can't do a high-pitched voice without turning into Marge. The bus fares are on me, homie. I gotta go.
Geds, thank you for the raid. Welcome in, Raiders. For those that don't know him, I'll wait for the clip to go away. Geds and Flash, welcome in. For those that don't know him, I'm Net Ghost Rider. Most people call me Ghost. I'm a variety gamer. I play a bunch of different streams. Sorry, I play a bunch of different streams. I play a bunch of different video games. I also do react content to YouTube videos, which I'm doing right now. I usually stream later in the night, but I have to work late this afternoon, which means I will not be able to go live at my normal time. So that is why I'm doing a day stream. I also do react content to news and politics. I have a YouTube channel, !YouTube, where we talk about history we're not taught and bad faith talking points. So feel free to go check that out. If you have to raid and run, I understand. But hopefully you all stick around. And even if you don't stick around, hopefully you come back and enjoy the stream. But Geds, thank you for the raid. Thank you so much. What'd you get into? What were you doing today? GeoGuessr? How'd GeoGuessr go? I don't think the truck's supposed to be like that, Geds.
Nah, he's got me wedged. He's got me wedged right on the...
You're jackknifed.
Oh! Oh my god!
Whoa! I wish that existed in real life. Damn.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
But anyway, chat.
Oh shit.
We are watching the video that I have pinned at the top, and if it's not pinned at the top, I'm gonna go do that right now. Oh crap, it's not there. It's not there. Here, I'll copy and paste it. I'll copy and paste it. We're watching How Cuba Works by Bad Empanada. We're learning a bit about Cuba and the average Cuban. And then we're going to watch another video about Cuba. But currently in the midst of a react, so I will get back into it. But thank you so much. Do you guess today? Too little success? Little success? Little success? I think we're pretty good at that game gets.
Would allow more of those resources to go to the people that actually need them. Aside from that, it wouldn't really be fair to do more than simply tax those high earners, as very few of them even have a single employee outside of their own family, so they can't really be said to be exploiting anyone. Aside from...
Okay, that's fair. That's fair, I understand. They're not exploiting anyone, so you're using taxing to prevent exploitation. So they're earning their own way because they have their own means of production. I get it, Empanada.
Perhaps tourists, that is, but who cares about them? Milk 'em for all they're worth. That's all just what I think anyway. So, in summary, being a Cuban in Cuba generally isn't incredible, nor is it terrible. Cuba isn't one gigantic slum, nor is it a utopia. Like any country, it has its problems, many of which have been caused by what some might call economic liberalization. Though due to its very different socio-economic organization, these are different problems than those that are usually seen in other countries. Those same differences make Cuba a subject of curiosity, spite, and romanticism all at once. In fact, chances are that you're watching this video in the first place for one of those three reasons. The reality of it is quite interesting, but still not as exciting as the endless back and forth slap fights on Cuba might lead you to expect. Cubans, just like you or I, are just people who are living their lives as best as they can with what they're given and what they can get.
Gotta look, do some cleaning. Good to see you, Ghost. Good to see you too, Gets. Appreciate the raid. Sorry I couldn't be in there like I normally can when I'm up this early. But I had to go live because I don't know if I'm gonna be able to go live the next 3 days. So, but thank you so much for the raid. Happy cleaning. Hopefully I'll see you here in the recent future.
And while what they're given is pretty damn good compared to basically every other country in the world, what they can get could definitely stand to be improved. Or like just give them more, whichever. Regardless of how much Juan Miami Fidel took my farm, insists that all Cubans live in unimaginable poverty and want the US to give them democracy as soon as possible, the real situation is a lot more complicated. Shocker. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, why not subscribe? And if you really liked it, consider supporting me on Patreon, becoming a member on YouTube, or sending me a one-time donation on Ko-fi. Now I'd like to thank all of my patrons, and especially my $25 plus patrons.
Good video by Bad Empanada.
Jesse Hosick, Super Pancake Man, Tonga Purutu.
Good video by Bad Empanada. Chat, give it a thumbs up. Hope you gave it a watch on the side. But yeah, Bad Empanada does really good videos about history and how the world works in other places. They are slightly slightly unhinged sometimes. It could be a good thing though. But on to another video about Cuba. Why they hate the USA. Cuba. But not as much as chatters hate me at the top of the hour, because I missed the top of the hour where I run a 3-minute ad to avoid pre-roll ads for any new viewers. If you want to avoid the ads, you can pay $5.99 for a subscription or get lucky and get gifted a sub. Or link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account and get a free monthly subscription from Daddy Bezos to your favorite streamer. Hopefully that's me. If it's not me, then hopefully it's one of my friends like Ari Boops. Anyway, here comes the 3-minute ad break now. All right. Why they hate the USA, Cuba. I mean, this should be a very easy one. There we go. All right. All right. Highest quality possible. Let me go here. And here.
This is the beginning of a fun little project I'm starting titled Why They Hate the USA, going through why various countries dislike American foreign policy and government as a direct result of American actions in and around said countries. This hatred very rarely extends to regular American people, or likewise victims of the same oppressive structures in other ways, despite at times being beneficiaries of the carnage and interventions the US carries out globally. Today's country is Cuba, an island nation in the Caribbean with a population of roughly 11 million people. Following centuries of exploitation, enslavement, and genocide in the wake of Spanish conquest, the Spanish-American War took place.
So, obviously, providing historical context is important in a leftist sense to discuss Cuba, which is why we're going to hear very similar things that Bad and Banana talked about at the beginning of the video. That he keeps going to talk
resulting in Cuba becoming a protectorate of the US. That's not to deny the many slave revolts and guerrilla movements the Cubans carried out, but I don't want this history lesson to drag on too long. Following the American victory, a new constitution was written under heavy US supervision, giving the US the exclusive right to intervene in Cuban affairs, to control financial matters and even foreign relations. US-owned companies began selling Cuban land to Americans. The US likewise quote-unquote leased the Guantanamo Bay naval base from Cuba, unsurprisingly with no say from the Cuban people. They're still there now, as unwelcome guests, of course. The Cuban government hasn't accepted payment for Guantanamo in over 60 years, and has repeatedly requested the Americans to stop violating Cuban sovereignty and leave. The Vietnamese...
I believe they gave Fidel Castro $1 for the leased land. And Castro refused to use it.
This example shows that the US doesn't leave anywhere they're not forced out of. Let's enumerate examples of American intervention throughout the early 20th century. After fairly contentious elections in the 1910s, where the US supervised the democratic and free ability to vote for only those that aren't black, aren't women, and have more than $250 to their name,
Jesus Christ!
in the peasant island.
What the fuck? It excluded black people, women, and those with less than $250. So what, 3 people were allowed to vote? 3 people were allowed to vote back in the 1901? $250 was like $18 million nowadays.
Aren't black, aren't women, and have more than $250 to their name in the mostly peasant island. Tomás Estrada Palma, the first president of Cuba, had a revolt on his hands that he couldn't crush. The US got involved, occupying Cuba, and named Charles Edward Magoon, an American lawyer and diplomat, the governor of Cuba for 3 years. Fiscal irresponsibility is an understatement when analyzing this time, introducing new levels of political corruption which made regular Cubans hate the guy, unsurprisingly.
No way.
Throughout some stability in the 1920s, tourism of a particular type exploded with the arrival of fresh-eyed American men. Gambling and prostitution, established with American money and serving wealthy white American tourists, was allowed to develop underneath extensive crime organizations within the US.
Just like Las Vegas! Just like Las Vegas was run by the mob for long periods of time.
Organizations had contacts with the US government who turned a blind eye to it, and likewise essentially controlled Cuban commerce through bribes, racketeering, and violence. Visiting Havana without a visit to a brothel was considered a waste of a trip, and those forcibly prostituted were by majority African or mixed race in origin. The highest demographic, aside from wealthy tourists, were American military and naval personnel, who were known to be particularly violent and demanding when drunk.
No way! You're telling me that American military personnel were demanding and violent when they're drunk? Get out of here. It's not like Japan is offering $3 trillion to make sure that the Marine base in Okinawa goes away to Guam, right? No, that doesn't happen.
Which they were, often. After the victory of the revolution, an official census found 150,000 prostitutes on the island, which, following increased access to healthcare, education, rehabilitation, essentially eliminated the practice in Cuba. From the 30s onwards, Fulgencio Batista makes an appearance.
Okay, it eliminated the practice because people didn't feel the need to turn to sex work in order to survive. Not that it's a bad thing. Sex work is real work.
Through juntas and other sneaky tactics, he emerged as the principal leader of Cuba until the revolution, in which he fled the island, emptying the nation's coffers and stealing upwards of $500 million worth of cash, art, and assets.
Jesus Christ.
Speaking of assets, Batista himself was a direct asset of the United States. Cuban agriculture was barred from development, instead it was used as a sugar subsidy for the world's largest economy, the United States. Batista himself facilitated the direct American ownership of the vast majority of arable land within Cuba, as well as the ownership of most businesses as well. The aforementioned mafia got their hands in there too, with not too uncertain support from US intelligence. Those same US intelligence members had stakes in many businesses within Cuba, as well as the rest of Latin America. Cuba was no more than an American military base populated by bars, casinos, brothels, and an illiterate peasant population under the thumb of a US-backed dictator. Incredibly romantic. With the fall of America's dictator within Cuba, a new era began. Literacy programs, the building up of industry, new trade agreements with the world, women's rights, successful attempts at correcting the horrific racial biases that existed on the island, and so much more were put into motion. At first, the revolutionary government was willing to cooperate with the US, but the US had other ideas. What the Cubans wanted would have directly affected the profits of those Americans that had presided over Cuban agriculture and industry, most of them, as previously mentioned, being intimately connected to American ruling structures as well. American-owned and ran companies within Cuba simply refused to work with the government of Cuba, refusing to refine oil, to pass paperwork, or to even listen to the requests of Cuban delegates. With the American refusals to any progressive policies, the revolutionary government of Cuba nationalized industry and returned Cuban soil and Cuban assets into Cuban hands. The United States in turn responded by placing on Cuba some of the severest economic sanctions history has known, colloquially referred to as the embargo. The motivations were simple. In a declassified file, they listed their motivations as clear as day. The majority of Cubans support Cuba. The lowest estimate I've seen is 50%. The only foreseeable means of alienating internal support is through disenchantment and disaffection based on economic dissatisfaction and hardship. Every possible means should be undertaken promptly to weaken the economic life of Cuba. The greatest inroads should be made in denying money and supplies to Cuba, to decrease monetary and real wages, to bring about hunger, desperation, and overthrow of government.
That's so funny that, like, it's crazy that U.S. government documents that come out after they come out unredacted, they say, you know, all the things that we're saying about this country isn't true, but let's fucking push that it's true. Let's push that it's true. Let's try to fucking overthrow any kind of regime and everything like that. Like, what the fuck?
Back to the video in just a second. Let's hear from today's sponsor, Atlas VPN. For a lot of research that I
Ethical reacts.
aren't available in my location. That's frustrating, as you can imagine. Geo-restriction really
Chat, the
sucks,
video is
but
pinned.
not
Make
good
sure you're
at
watching
it.
alongside of it.
For those unaware, a virtual private network makes all of your internet traffic travel through an encrypted tunnel. This way, it protects you from spying, public Wi-Fi dangers, and hides your IP address and your online activities. It even allows you to change your location for all your researching needs. Developed by top cybersecurity specialists and IT engineers in 2019, Atlas VPN was created to make the internet accessible and secure for everybody. Currently, it has more than 6 million users worldwide, and boasts the best VPN deal on the market, with the most affordable online protection plan for just under $2 per month, if you can believe it, with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So, what are you waiting for? Go down to the description and click that link, and use my code Hakeem to get a 3-year subscription for just $183 a month, with 3 months free.
$183 a month?
You get blazing fast speeds
No
for
way.
your gaming, unlimited protection for all your devices, an inbuilt ad and malware blocker, and you'll get to save some extra cash as Atlas VPN will find you the best deal online from everything from your online subscriptions to airlines, hotels, and more. Right now, Atlas VPN is running a huge discount. It means you can get a 3-year subscription for just $183 a month with a 30-day money-back guarantee.
This is from last year. I don't know if it's still gonna work.
Clicking the link in the video description below. Massive thanks to Atlas VPN for the sponsorship. This is what allows me to pay my editor fairly, so the support is highly appreciated. Alright, back to the video. This is an American policy that began in 1960 and hasn't yet ended even till today. But that wasn't enough. US President Eisenhower in 1960 alone gave the CIA $13.1 million to use against the new Cuban government. Accounting for inflation, that's $121 million in today's money, not for education or healthcare or jobs or infrastructure in the US, but to overthrow a people's government to secure further profits for a handful of people at the American top. Regardless, they couldn't just stop at this, so in 1961 the United States officially sponsored and supported a clandestine invasion of Cuba by a military force directly trained by them. This was known as the Bay of Pigs invasion. This American adventure failed spectacularly, embarrassing the US on the international stage and
hilariously.
Kennedy's reputation.
Failed hilariously. I mean, JFK was literally like, don't fucking do this. And the CIA is like, nah, fam, we got this. Hold my beer. Watch us do this shit.
Of course, the CIA got to work immediately planning another invasion in 1962, but that was quickly scrapped as Kennedy saw that another US failure would permanently ruin America's global standing. That definitely didn't stop them, though, from developing Operation Northwoods, a plan concocted by the US Department of Defense and the Joint Chiefs of Staff, in which many possibilities for starting a war with Cuba based on false pretenses were discussed, outlined, and planned.
Yes,
These
this was
included
insane.
Assassinations of Cuban immigrants, sinking of boats, shooting down planes carrying civilians, and acts of terror within US cities. To quote, "We could develop a communist Cuban terror campaign in the Miami area and in other Florida cities and even in Washington. The terror campaign could be pointed at Cuban refugees seeking haven in the United States. We could sink a boatload of Cubans en route to Florida, real or simulated."
Dude, fucking insane. Insane. Talking about doing this to US citizens or US refugees, US residents. What the fuck was wrong with people back then? I mean, we have fucking people that want to do this shit nowadays. God damn.
Attempts on lives of Cuban refugees in the United States, even to the extent of wounding in instances to be widely publicized. Exploding a few plastic bombs in carefully chosen spots, the arrest of Cuban agents and the release of prepared documents substantiating Cuban involvement also would be helpful in projecting the idea of an irresponsible government. These proposals were approved at every level of US government until it reached Kennedy, who was the final person to look it over and eventually reject the proposal. Not from some love for peace, mind you, but because he worried that the military forces that would be diverted to Cuba would be better used in Berlin or Vietnam. The proposal itself was presented in a document titled Justification for US Military Intervention in Cuba, which outlined the general invasion plan of Cuba by the US. Aggressive military posturing against Cuba intended to provoke a Cuban reaction. A series of well-coordinated false flag incidents planned to take place in and around Guantanamo to give a genuine appearance of it being done by hostiles.
Dude, that's like the other hilarious thing is they wanted to create like a Cuban terrorist group within the United States, but like, one, the Cubans that they didn't like wouldn't be able to get into the United States because the United States has had the embargo on them, right? And all the Cubans that are in the United States were literally Batista exiles. They were exiled by the following government. Like, of course, there wasn't going to be a Cuban terror group. All the Cubans in the United States were capitalist fucking pigs.
Cuban forces. United States response by executing offensive operations.
Also, if wouldn't Cuba have a right to defend itself? We keep talking about Israel having a right to defend itself. Doesn't Cuba have the right to defend itself if something happened off its coast and it felt it was threatened? Or that United States ship attacked Cuba? Like, what the fuck? Isn't that international law?
Secure water and power supplies, destroying artillery and mortar emplacements which threaten Guantanamo. These include the admitted civilian targets. Finally, commence large-scale United States military operations in Cuba. Keep in mind, Guantanamo is Cuban soil illegally occupied by the US. Their general plan was to provoke an attack on a US military base that has no business being there in a sovereign and independent nation, and then to respond with overwhelming force against the nation, expanding the occupation from a naval base to the whole island.
I guess that would be why that Cuba hasn't overrun that facility and expelled US military from there, considering that it's Cuban land. Because they know the United States is just going to carpet bomb the entire island.
Also neatly ties into Operation Mongoose. Among the plans to kill American civilians in order to justify invasion of Cuba, the CIA also outlined many plans for the assassination of Fidel Castro and other leaders of the revolution. If you're interested in that history,
hi there, Ghost. What's up?
Program,
how are you?
By Fidel, very creatively, goes into the topic much deeper. Likewise, bonus episode 15 goes into each wacky assassination attempt bit by bit, so check out the exclusive section of the podcast for that. I promise you won't regret it. Almost every false flag operation planned had the expressed intention of justifying a war with Cuba, even for unrelated events. For example, Operation Dirty Trick had the expressed goal of blaming failed US space missions on Cuba. To quote, "The objective is to provide irrevocable proof that, should the Mercury manned orbital flight fail, the fault lies with the communists et al. Cuba." This is to be accomplished by manufacturing various pieces of evidence which would prove electronic interference on the part of the Cubans.
I'm good. How are you? I'm good. I basically ended stream last night, went to bed, and then started stream again this morning because I got to work this afternoon. Unfortunately. So I will not be able to go live at my normal time. So that's why I'm live during the day.
As far as to plan false quote-unquote
iconic truly, yeah.
By countries which would give the US an
I'm here to provide entertainment for you all. That's what I'm here for. Provide entertainment as well as maybe accidentally teach something. Teach a thing or two.
Used to intervene. Hilariously, there is an official, highly sanitized publication that details American interventions and war crimes called the National Security Archive, which basically cycles between we didn't do it, and if we did do it, then we were justified in it. Highlighted areas of action were, to quote, anti-Castro propaganda, disruptions of the Cuban economy, including large-scale sabotage operations and the development of instructor cadres to provide both communications and paramilitary training to resistance groups. Under Mongoose, over a dozen major operations were authorized and carried out, including military attacks on sugar mills, railways, power plants, and oil refineries. One of the industrial facility attacks resulted in the deaths of 400 workers, with Kennedy's direct approval. According to the historian Stephen Rabe, the Kennedy administration showed no interest in Castro's repeated requests that the United States cease its campaign of sabotage and terrorism against Cuba. Kennedy did not pursue a dual-track policy towards Cuba. The United States would entertain only proposals of surrender. Rabe's research further shows how US-backed groups would stage hit-and-run attacks on Cuban ships transporting goods and on the island itself.
So, the United States always talks about being like diplomatic and free trade and everything, but let's not free trade with countries that will potentially succeed and show our working class that they no longer have to be exploited by our wealthy class.
Historian Jorge Dominguez further documents that only once in the 1,000 pages of documentation did a US official raise something that resembled a faint moral objection to US government-sponsored terrorism.
American exceptionalism, baby! American exceptionalism! We do everything we do because we're always right. We are never wrong. We have never done anything wrong in our entire history of the United States.
The entire failed endeavor to oust the revolutionary government of Cuba cost upwards of several hundreds of millions of dollars, if not even billions. Again, not for healthcare or education of American citizens, but for the profits of a few casino moguls and US businessmen with lost stake in Cuban industry. This series of constant meddling and provocation by the US began in 1960 and has not ended since. Not only this, but this is only scratching the surface of US meddling in Cuban affairs. There's a lot more that is equally horrific and has been declassified, and God knows how much more remains classified. I won't touch too much on the Cuban Missile Crisis, which has been spun to such lengths that most people would be surprised to hear that there were first US nuclear weapons in Turkey aimed at the USSR, which the USSR then responded to by placing nuclear weapons in Cuba with Cuban consent. The USSR brought forward reasonable resolutions to the issue, such as, hey, let's both withdraw our missiles, which the US refused till they reluctantly acquiesced only after being able to play the entire thing in their favor, media-wise. Much more importantly, let's not forget the embargo and its explicit purpose. If you bother reading the standard narrative from mostly Western press, you'd see very few, if any, mentions of the embargo. Of course, this is by design. If you're unaware, the US has economically blockaded the rogue state of Cuba since the early 60s, limiting inflow of basic goods either directly or indirectly. We're talking even basic medicines and food. They claim the embargo makes exceptions for this, but that's only for show. The wording is made so
Just like you talked about in the last video, it's all about show. It's all about making it look like the United States actually gives a shit about the Cuban people, but in reality, they don't. They don't care about the Cuban people. They don't.
intentionally vague as to essentially disincentivize companies from even considering trade with Cuba. The total amount of wealth lost to the blockade accounts to nearly $1 trillion US.
Jesus
That's
Christ.
hundreds of billions for an island nation of only 11 million people. The way it happens is like this. Any ship that trades with Cuba can't enter US ports for 180 days. The US, being the world's largest economy, is effectively barring trade with Cuba for the rest of the world by preventing those countries from trading with itself. Any company that has any assets or trade with the US can be sanctioned and punished for quote-unquote breaking the embargo if they trade with Cuba. Not to spoil the ending, but practically every major company worldwide has some connection to the US. Even companies with no assets or...
If they actually gave a shit about the Cuban people, they would fucking lift the embargo. But they don't want Cuba to succeed. They don't want Cuba to succeed. They don't want to see a system that's built for proletariat to succeed because they don't want the United States proletariat to overthrow the current system that's in place that keeps making the rich richer and us working class people poorer.
The US are targeted with forceful seizure of their assets or outright banning of company members from entering the US. In essence, the embargo not only prevents goods from physically entering Cuba, but it also is made to be the maximum incentive not to trade with Cuba. Not to mention, this is internationally illegal. The UN voted on this numerous times, and every country on Earth, aside from the US and of course its puppet Israel, voted to lift the embargo. Now tell me, when...
Oh, there's the vote. I talked about it earlier. Israel and the United States, the only ones that voted against lifting the embargo in all of the world. Literally two fucking countries are the only people that are holding back lifting the fucking embargo. Every other country. The whole point of having a United Nations is to get everybody else's feedback. It's literally to get everybody else's feedback and be like, hey, is this a good idea? That's how democracies work. That's why, theoretically, democracies work is because you get a majority of the people. Theoretically speaking, a majority of the people will make the correct decision if given the correct information and not given disinformation. This is insane. Totally forgot to say hi. I joined and I got distracted. So, hey. Oh, what's up, Boom? How are you? This is the whole reason the UN, in theory, is supposed to work. But instead, the United States, Russia, China doesn't do it as much. But like all these fucking countries that have veto votes in the Security Council just fuck up everything.
US, and of course its puppet Israel,
Oh, fine. Just another day. Yeah, just another day. Another day, another dollar. How's the talks going? I mean, I'm reacting. Love talking about a country that actually has maybe figured out a good system that actually takes care of its people. You know, it's great looking at other countries be relatively successful with little to fucking no resources and taking care of its people. The other day, corporate America BS. That's right, brother. That's right. Corporate America takes care of me. That's why I vote for corporate America.
voted to lift the embargo. Now tell me, when literally every nation represented by the UN votes to do something, and only 2 countries decide, you know what, I'm not gonna do that, who's really the rogue state?
Yep.
The cherry on top is that, according to polling, the majority of Americans would also like to lift the embargo. Despite this clear expression of democratic majority, the US continues to violate that democratic will in order to, supposedly, bring democracy to Cuba. That doesn't end there, though. The US continues to—
there's literally democracy in Cuba! There's literally democracy in Cuba! Cuban citizens literally have more power over their politicians than we do over ours! What the fuck? This is crazy! This is insane. Cuban citizens have more power over their local politicians, which there are more amenable to hearing their citizens than American politicians are. What the fuck? If not third world country, then why third world shaped?
tried to disrupt Cuban life, even during catastrophic times. After COVID, tourism took a big hit and the Cuban economy suffered. As a nation sanctioned for over half a century, the compounding effects of an international pandemic and subsequent recovery wouldn't be hard to imagine. The US itself is having a hard time, much less Cuba. Some small-scale demonstrations were held at the time. Unsurprisingly, there were efforts to turn this genuine grievance of the Cuban people into a political protest aimed at overthrowing the Cuban government by the US government and its lackeys, mainly through the media. The US government has very little power in Cuba itself otherwise. Whenever a particular product shortage exists in Cuba, the US capitalizes with intensifying sanctions, with sanctions on medical needles being the most unpleasant during the pandemic. Following this, prominent US politicians were calling for and continue to call for US military intervention into Cuba, along with calls for the assassination of Cuban officials. Twitter.
Chat, I don't know if you remember this, but recently the Cuban people had a protest on the streets, and Fox News and everything were literally Fox News and everything were showing the protest, but they had to blur out the signs because the big protests that were happening in Cuba were pro-government protests. They were trying to make it look like that the protests were anti-government, but if you read the signs, which a lot of the signs were in Spanish, if you read the signs, it was pro-government protests. Fox News was literally showing the protest and had to blur the footage to make sure that people didn't read the signs and be like, wait a minute, I know Spanish, and that's a pro-government slogan.
At the time was flooded with brand new accounts posting the same copy-pasted text at a rate of 5 per second, and despite the very
Reasons for lib cucks, that's right.
overwhelming turnout of protesters in Cuba generally, American media tried to pass off images and videos of protests in other places, like Egypt or other Latin American countries, as Cuban protests. They even used footage of protests in Miami and passed them off as within Cuba. Not satisfied with this.
Yep. There were protests in Miami and said it was happening in Cuba. Chat? Cuban Americans are the most reactionary people that have ever fucking lived. They are exiles that were kicked out of Cuba because they own slaves. Their family members owned slaves and shit. If you hear people talk about the Latin American vote and say that Latin Americans always vote conservative, they're talking about fucking Cubans. They're talking about Cubans. Cubans are the most overreactionary group of people. Cuban Americans are the most reactionary group of people in the United States of America. They are fucking insane. The Batista regime was crazy in Cuba. There was literally slavery in Cuba. Kaz cared for back home. Facepalm.
Footage of pro-government demonstrations.
Here it is.
Labeled them anti-government protests.
Oh my God, pre-watch. Fucking pre-watch. Pre-watch. Pre-watch, chat. Pre-watch.
Used footage of protests in Miami and passed them off as within Cuba. Not satisfied with this, they even took footage of pro-government demonstrations and labeled them anti-government protests.
Fox News editors blurred out the signs of what they claim were anti-government demonstrations in Cuba because they said things like "Long live the Cuban Revolution," "The streets belong to the revolutionaries."
Satisfied with this, they even took footage of pro-government demonstrations and labeled them anti-government protests. The UN Human Rights Council used an image of a pro-government demonstrator in a lukewarm statement about the protests, and when the woman herself responded by saying, "Down with the blockade, long live the revolution," Twitter
Hell yeah! Hell yeah! Wait, Twitter?
did her account.
Oh my God, Twitter deleted her account? Jesus Christ. Dems blame Cuba unrest on sanctions, not communism. I wonder why. It is fucking sanctions. Like, what the fuck? It is sanctions. The embargo has been implemented for decades at this point, and literally every country has voted to lift the embargo. The only two countries. This is like that meme. You two consent. You two parties consent, but did this third person consent?
The US hasn't stopped there.
Love
though.
to see it.
Several attempts have been made to create a Cuban Twitter or a Cuban Facebook for organizing counter-revolutionary action and manipulating local opinion, attempts that have colossally failed. Other attempts include the US spending millions of dollars on
Also, they tried to assassinate Fidel Castro like 600 times.
expat Cuban rappers and other hip-hop artists in hopes of cultivating a cultural counter-revolution of sorts. The US government continues to spend tens of millions of dollars on quote-unquote democratic opposition groups, meaning groups subservient to US agendas intending to overthrow the current government for specifically US interests.
Dude, look how much money the United States has put into trying to overthrow the Cuban government. Could you imagine if we took all those resources and put it into, I don't know, infrastructure or education or, I don't know, taking care of American citizens, healthcare? Like, what the fuck are we doing? What are we doing? Why are we wasting money on this shit? If the system is supposed to fail, let it fucking fail, and then you can come in and look like a goddamn superhero and when you fix things. If the system is guaranteed to fail, which is everything we're told, let it fail, and then you can come in as a superhero and save the people. Why would you not do that? That's a PR win.
Truly been interested in democracy, they would have picked their allies much more wisely. If anything, this just reinforces another quote from the great helmsman. US imperialism is the most voracious enemy of the people of the entire world. The core of that enemy, however, is capitalism. Some book recommendations include Cuba and the US Empire, A Chronological History, which is an excellent and concise history of Cuba and American intervention, Voices from the Other Side, an oral history of terrorism against Cuba, which documents US terror attacks, Cuba and its Neighbors, Democracy in Motion, which details the Cuban democratic process, and finally, How the
Hakeem
Workers'
actually
Parliament Saved
reads.
the Cuban Revolution, revived
Hakeem's
socialism,
not a real
and
leftist.
process
Hakeem
of
reads.
union. This book is the best in the list and is self-explanatory. That's all for this time. If you enjoy what I do, then please consider supporting me on Patreon. It really does help.
Also, I missed this message.
Thank you too.
So kids, my kids are intense, so trying to be a kind parent. I'm succeeding so far. Aren't you always supposed to be a kind parent, Supa? Why do you have to try? Shouldn't you always be a kind parent? I don't have kids, but like, come on.
Owen Baker, T. Wood.
Also, parenting is literally communism. So you shouldn't do communism. You should make them fend for themselves.
Dr. Lemonman, Lumix, Charlie and Eric, Ultimate Turin, Daniel Ethel, The Generic Guy, Santiago Pereira, Rain, Cassandra Corvus, David Fries, Confuse M,
Ghosty Jesus.
Robbie Rich.
What? What do you mean Jesus? What do you mean Jesus? What do you mean Jesus? This is the United States of America. We are a capitalist society. Anything that's communism is bad. Duh. Come on. Come on. It's competition. Only the strong survive, Ari. Right out of the womb. Right out of the womb, they got to get their own fucking food and shit. You got to put them to work. The children yearn for the mines. Just saying. But chat, I hope you watch alongside of that. Now we're going to have some fun. Now it's time to have some fun. It's time to have some fun and learn about gaslighting Republicans into being super woke. And I say that every time anyone goes into the mine area of any game. Exactly. The children yearn for the mines. That's why Minecraft is so successful. Because the children yearn for it. All right. There we go. Chat, please watch alongside this video. This one's important. Please watch alongside this video to bend a minute. And we're gonna have some laughs here. This is gonna be fun. I was looking forward to watching this with you all.
The app, formerly known as Twitter, has quickly become the #1 place for sharing thoughts and beliefs in the so-called marketplace of ideas. No King's protest makes me want 100 times more deportations. At least, according to Elon Musk. To everyone else, it has become a right-wing echo chamber overflowing with some of the worst takes you've ever seen. And after spending hundreds of hours in this bleak digital town square, I realized that most of the content on here comes from Republican voters. Roughly 60%
No.
are considered working-class Americans. So I had an idea.
That's right. Republicans are the only ones that are working class Americans, despite the fact that literally more billionaires fund Republican PACs and Republican politicians.
What would happen if I disguised myself, infiltrated the other side, and used their
He's also done it. He's also done this a couple times. We watch a couple videos on it, but I love this shit. I love this content.
real American language to slowly trick them into discovering that they've been siding with the wrong people all along? What if I could gaslight Republicans into developing class consciousness? Blue-haired libs make more money than us. People underestimate the power of the white South.
So sick of the lies and the manipulation.
Maybe helping Israel attack Iran might be bad for us. Stupid, meaningless life is pathetic. Hey, it's been a minute, and today I'm going to try to turn right-wing Twitter into Eat the Rich comrades.
I love it.
Well, if we're going to do this right, we're going to need a good disguise. To successfully sneak into Republican Twitter, I can't have any of them seeing through the thin veneer of my conservative mask. So I went to my closest Tractor Supply Co., not sponsored, and picked up some tactical equipment. Ty Braxton. Date of birth, obviously, January 6th. All right, profile picture.
Obviously, January 6th.
That looks really good. What do I
Yeah,
wanna
you always
see
got
on
to take a
X?
picture in the car.
Look at comedy. I'm a funny guy. I think things are funny.
Comedy's legal
Health,
again.
Fitness, not really. Travel. If you mean traveling down the road in a truck, then I guess travel. Why the hell would I want to follow the Pope? Elon Musk. Who's this guy? Science girl. No. Barack Obama. Hell no. Barstool Sports. Yeah. One thing I've noticed with a lot of right-wingers' Twitter accounts is they have a lot of like AI imagery in it. That's kind of like a fun thing for them to do since they can't create art on their own, I guess. So I have some AI generated images
And when they do create art, it's dog shit.
that we're going to use for the cover photo. We have Trump hugging a bald eagle behind a black Ford F-150. America first. Fisher, hunter, trucker, futurist. Proud Tesla owner, but Ford driver. Location, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Now, I thought Ty Braxton's profile was looking great. Surely this was good enough to fool even the
Don't call me Shirley.
brightest of the MAGA coalition. This looks perfect. I don't think there's anything. Oh, Donald Trump Jr. Yes, please. So with our new profile set up, it was now time to start tweeting. Let's see if anything interesting is happening on Twitter today. Oh, what is this? In 1992, Trump partied with Jeffrey Epstein. Just gonna leave this here. You mean to tell me that Trump was friends with
This is
Jeffrey
great.
Epstein?
This is amazing.
Huh. Seems to be some fighting going on between Elon and Mr. Trump. Now remember, for the first few days,
Dude, what the fuck? Every time he does this video, there's something popping off. Then again, everything is popping off. But there's some kind of like inner Republican civil war going on, so it kind of fucks everything up.
of our online journey, we need to blend in. Okay, so now the goal is to just respond as much as possible. Who cares about crop rotations and a lima bean's gender? The deficit must be replaced by something better. Ty is going to be taking Elon's side in all of this. The Trump tariffs will cause a recession in the second half of this year.
Of course, you have to take Elon's side in this. It's Elon's platform. He's gonna boost pro Elon content.
Kidding me? That would not be good for the economy. Time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason he's not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. No way. Thanks for sharing the truth. I'm gonna have to seriously think on this one. And by think, I mean Trying to find someone else's opinion to latch on to. Mark this post for the future. The truth will come out. Who the hell's that? There's no way this picture's real. They can't both be friends with Epstein. There's just no way. Who would I have to believe in? Grok, is this photo real or Photoshop? Having done something like this before, I knew the goal was to first earn trust with the Republicans. We have to gain a dedicated patriotic following, and then slowly over the next 10 days...
That's right. We need the patriots. We need those that are pro-capitalist to follow me at all times. Because we need to make sure our billionaires make as much money as possible so they can continue to oppress us working class individuals.
Way towards full class realization. But before we get into that, have you ever tried Googling yourself before? Like,
chat, I need to create shorts of my Uncle Clark from my bootlickers video. I need to create shorts of my Uncle Clark video because I think they would fucking pop off. I think they would pop off with like leftist spaces and like libs and shit, but also pop off with like conservative spaces because they wouldn't realize that I'm making fun of them.
actually type your full name into Google and hit search. Been a minute. What the hell? Chances are your phone number, address, maybe even your
ethical reacts
there on dozens of random websites.
Ethical reacts.
Thanks to the work of data brokers, companies that gather your personal information, build detailed profiles on you, and then sell them to advertisers, marketers, and sometimes scammers. This is how your data leaks turn into spam calls, identity theft, and a complete loss of control over your privacy. That's why I use today's sponsor, Incogni. If for some reason this is your first time on YouTube and you don't know what Incogni is, it's a privacy tool that contacts data brokers on your behalf and forces them to delete your personal
ethical
data.
Ethical reacts. Watch all of it, chat.
Back and forth.
Take notes.
You just click and it's gone. And with their new custom removals feature, you can submit links from any site you find exposing your info, even ones outside of their automated network. Their team manually investigates and removes your data wherever it's legally possible. But Incogni doesn't just do this once. They check back regularly, and if your data shows up again, they take it down again.
Well,
that's why
nice.
I personally use their annual plan, and it has been a life changer. I rarely ever get random spam calls or emails at all now.
Dude, I've been getting a shit ton of like random text messages and spam text messages. The last like 2.5 weeks. It's been insane. But they keep offering me some great jobs, like $500 a day.
Those small changes have made a big difference. It's now just one less thing to worry about. And right now, I'm happy to say that you can get 60% off their annual plan by going to the link in the description or by using code BENAMINUTE when signing up. That is incogni.com/BENAMINUTE in all caps. If you're tired of being tracked, spammed, and exposed, it's time to fight back and give you one less thing to worry about. And thank you to Incogni for sponsoring this video.
Ethical reacts.
All right, back to it. Now, Ty was having the time of his life, getting to interact with one of his favorite altruistic billionaires. Congratulations, Tessa, Giga Berlin team. This might be the best thing to happen to Berlin since the fall of Gorbachev's wall. Thanks, Berlin, for choosing the right path. Berlin has always chosen the right path. Let's see how many followers I have. 1. But then it hit me, and I realized that I was missing something pretty important. How is Ty supposed to form a right-wing coalition on Twitter all by himself? If there was one thing that Ty had yet to learn, it was that one has no power, but working together, we are strong.
Heyo.
Plus, there was another shirt at Tractor Supply that I could not resist buying, so...
If you want something, work for it. Red, white, and blue collar.
Name, we're going to go with Timber.
Oh my God, he's creating multiple accounts.
Date, September 11. All right, profile picture.
Oh, shit.
That looks really good. All right, we need to put our cover photo up. Maybe I'll just put this as my cover photo. Timber Slocum, Trump 2028, American flags. No woke, no aliens, no BS. Straight shooting father of 2, stout American and follower of Christ. Tucker Carlson, Donald Trump Jr., UN, hell no.
Dude, I love that he's
Braxton,
I love that he's using this.
2 industry
I
players.
love that he's fucking using this to prop up both of the accounts.
Democrats ready to take on Republican Twitter. No matter how tough the road ahead of them might be, they knew that the only thing they had to lose were their chains. In light of the president's statement about canceling of my government contracts, SpaceX will begin decommissioning its Dragon spacecraft immediately. Shut up, you weird freak. No more tax dollars to fund your gay little car and drag. Huh. Looks like Timber might not share the same feelings as Ty when it comes to Elon. Stop fighting! You both are better than this. Trump will win and win and win. He is addicted to winning.
Despite the fact that he literally lost the popular vote in 2016 and then lost to Joe fucking Biden. That was a corpse that was propped up.
Elon is addicted to ketamine. And I saw this as a perfect opportunity to find out which side of this alpha male feud would drive more engagement and followers to a newly made Twitter profile. Would it be Ty, the Musk lover? Hopefully all your Tesla outlets stop getting vandalized. Seriously, that was probably the darkest events I've ever seen in this country. Or Timber, the Trump guy. The only lie here is that you cared about Trump in this country. Your betrayal to us will never be forgotten. Hashtag never forget 2025. Congress is 100% to blame. And the House. Don't forget those losers. Oh my God.
Please don't get divorced, daddies. Mine lollipoppin'.
Yeah, and the Senate. Shut up, libard. Ooh, we got a constitutionalist here. Wow, his background is kind of similar to mine. If I live near a large community of Muslims in the United States of America, is it wrong to assume that at least some small few of them are sympathetic towards Islamic terrorism?
Dude, that's fucking insane.
I feel like
That's
I'm not even
insane.
going right.
That is fucking insane. You're basically asking a bunch of people if it's okay if I murder these people based on the color of their skin. They're asking for permission to do that. They're asking for permission to do that. Oh my God, we're such a broken fucking country. Dude, if you said any of the same shit about like Republicans or conservatives in general, like the whole internet would lose its fucking mind. You would get strung up. You would literally get lynched. If you said, I live around a bunch of Republicans, right? And is it wrong of me to think that a small amount of them are in full support of what they did on January 6th and could potentially do it again in the future? Like, they would fucking lose their goddamn minds. That's insane. And yes, pretty much all of them support January 6th, if you're wondering. Please just let me be a little Islamophobia.
Enough. Like, how is this not a parody? Breaking. Musk says Trump would have lost 2024 election without him. People underestimate the power of a white South African. Let's go. South African flag.
That was a Palestinian flag.
Time to check back in and see how things are going.
That was a
John
Palestinian
Fetterman
flag.
spotted dining with Steve Bannon.
That was a Palestinian flag. That was a Palestinian flag. That was so good.
Anniversary. God, I hate John Fetterman so much. Do we really want a bald hooded freak helping out MAGA? I don't think so. It's so easy to just get likes on here. Everyone is welcome. Them, more the merrier. I can't even understand what these people are trying to say. I don't think I've read a complete sentence.
I think it's a bot.
15 minutes. Ron DeSantis is the best governor in the United States, bar none. If I wasn't straight, I might even kiss him. We need another David who believes in God the
Bald
Almighty
life.
for the win. We need another Pontius Pilate, too, because all these planes keep crashing. Hey, lefties.
Wait,
from
what?
your Google God, what is the difference between a protest and a riot? Be more like Jan Sixers, not L.A. Waymo burning anarchists. You should know how to spell anarchists. Anarchists. Caroline Levitt is the bomb. Can't believe she is only 27 and looks like she's 37. Incredible.
That's so true. That's so true. Oh my God. All of these people. Oh, all these people, the hatred makes them age so much. Like Charlie Kirk. Like Charlie Kirk is, I think in his 30s. I feel like Charlie Kirk is younger than me. Morning, Ghost. Morning, Paul Wall. Charlie Kirk is younger than me. Chat. Charlie Kirk is younger than me. He's 31. Jesus Christ. I am 2 years older than Charlie Kirk. He looks like a 50-year-old fucking man. Charlie Kirk looks 55. Oh my God. he looks like he's in his 50s and he's 2 years younger than me. I call myself old all the fucking time. Oh my God.
Pause there. Smoke them and then head on over to
Oh God.
Braxton. Hopefully we can get some more followers with Ty. The One Big Beautiful Bill will allow Americans to use their pre-tax health savings account money for their
JD, what are you giving me?
Doctor services, things that improve their health. Now this is what healthcare.
Sound? His face gets smaller and bigger. Where do you think it fits right? Right there. I think it's 83%. There's sound.
I live like a capitalist every single day, Shane. I live like a capitalist every single day. I live like a capitalist every single day. I live like a capitalist every single day.
I think that's right.
Who needs medication when you have a bench press? ICE is not Nazis. Nazis were militarized and took away Jewish people and gypsies out of Germany, not Mexicans and Latinos. Know your history. And
That was a banger. That was a banger fucking tweet. Holy shit, that was a banger tweet. Now he's JD's illegitimate son.
disabled and or mentally
I live like a capitalist every day, Jake.
challenged.
What does that
and
mean?
experimented
What does that mean? You fucking exploit your workers? You don't pay your workers? Do you think your workers like hearing that?
on them. Exactly. ICE is not doing that right now at all. And by the end of day 2, Ty had 17
Oh my God.
followers.
Oh my
ICE is
God.
not doing
Oh my
that.
God.
Disabled and or mentally challenged and experimented on them. Exactly. ICE is not doing that right now at all. And by
Chat, spoiler alert, ICE is definitely doing that right now.
the end of day 2, Ty had 17 followers and Timber had 27.
I got a package,
Now,
chat.
Elon and Trump infighting may have been over, well, there was something else brewing overseas. And little did I know how much right-wing Twitter would split in the coming days around this issue. Netanyahu only cares about being the center of attention. He better not drag the U.S. into his forever war with Iran. Oh, looks like they retaliated and fired missiles at Tel Aviv. This is what happens when you play with fire. Oh, see, here you go. The anti-Israel sentiment. Israel is not our problem. Iran is not our problem. We have a war at home to fight. Foreign terrorists and domestic terrorists are in our own home. They must be crushed. They actually hate Israel. Agreed. Who cares about the Middle East? That's
Chat. I wonder why they hate Israel. Wonder why they might hate Israel. Do you think it might be something to do with the fact that they don't like Jewish people? Do you think that might be the reason?
Time I checked, America was located in the USA, not the Red Sea. We should help Israel. Disagree with you on that. Then why don't you go ahead and enlist? Out of chaos comes order. That's what my mom always told me. Your cranial structure resembles that of a gorilla.
Oh,
And-
Jesus Christ. Scroll phonology, Andes. The only skull phrenology that exists is cop skull phrenology. All the balds, everybody that looks like a thumb has to be a fucking cop.
Your cranial structure is hollow. Gunther Eagleman said, "No more wars.
That's
I'm
right.
tired of the bloodshed and violence. We want peace.
I love
Trump
the misspelling. The misspelling makes it fucking perfect.
is to peace. Pray for Israel. Pray for Trump. Like this if you think we should send Lindsey Graham to the front lines.
Ooh. Ooh.
Graham is ready for combat, I guess. Have fun in the trenches of Tel Aviv, you closeted rhino. All right. get some
Closeted
followers.
rhino?
Oh, yeah. All right, so Ty is pro-Israel. He's one of those far-right MAGA supporters.
It's from all the justice and law knowing brother. That's right, brother.
So he's on the other side of the coalition. Pray for America.
They may be on the other side of the coalition, but we're still on this side of the top of the hour. Because the top of every hour, I run a 3-minute ad. If you want to avoid the ads, you can pay $5.99 for a subscription or get lucky and get gifted a sub or link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account and get a free monthly subscription from Daddy Bezos to your favorite streamer. Hopefully that's me, or hopefully it's one of my friends like Nomar Noodles. But anyway, here comes the 3-minute ad break now. Lindsey Graham, our strongest soldier. That's right. That's right.
And Israel. Charlie Kirk said, should the U.S. get involved in Israel's war against Iran?
90%.
Absolutely not. We have enough issues domestically. And I said, no, we have to support our allies. It's the American way. I got 3 likes. And then Bob said, the American way.
No ads yet. Yeah, I think the side ads take away from... I think the side ads take away time at the top of the hour, based on my observations.
Is to have no foreign relations. The American way is to spread influence across the entire world until everyone is the same as us. It's called Manifest Destiny.
They're weird.
Book,
Yeah.
Bob.
Listen, I'm not mad about chatters like not getting ads. I'm sorry. Twitch, I love when chatters get ads. I love when chatters get ads. I love it so much because then they buy the product of the ad that they watch. I'm sorry, Twitch. I was lying. I was lying when I said I don't mind chatters not getting ads.
President Trump thanks First Lady Melania on her work to get the Take It Down Act bill passed.
All hail Twitch, yeah.
Melania is so cool. I hope ICE doesn't get her because she's a good one. And after a total of 101 tweets from both patriots, day 3 ended with Ty at 62 followers and Timber with 72. It seems like Timber Slocum, who hates Elon and is anti-Israel, is gaining more traction right now than Ty Braxton, who is pro-Israel and pro-Elon. So it's kind of fun. So over the weekend, we had a couple things happen. On Saturday, we had the No Kings protest, which was a worldwide protest against Donald Trump. And Timber Slocum and Ty Braxton both got pictures from the protests of just the most heinous, awful things that you can imagine. Like this one right here. This is disgusting. Libs are out of control. They should be ashamed for the hate they're causing across the nation. This is awful. Libs are pathetic. My strategy with both accounts was to reply to as many tweets as possible as fast as possible. What did some of these tweets say? Oh, Pete Hegseth is looking great on the beach. Perfect family. A basic skill you're shocked some adults still don't know. Smartness. Oh God, they're so easy to dupe. Quantity over quality is the name of the game. If
100%.
Influential on right-wing.
100%.
California Democrats unveil bill to ban
Carpet spray it all. Spray and pray, baby. Get as much of that brain rot out there as possible so you get that brain rot coming back to you.
And masks for law enforcement. I'm sick of being nice. Democrats are the scum of the earth. What's next? A bill to make everyone gay? They have no legislative power over
Also, do you notice that he got a check mark on all of his things?
law enforcement, so they can still kick rocks. Yeah, police are above the law. It didn't really matter what the tweet read, as long as it was something Republican coded with Ty and Timber's own unique personalities sprinkled on top. Let's head on over to Timber Slocum, see what's going on. As long as Trump is pissing you off, I'm happy. That's all that matters. The more they mad, the better Trump do. We ended.
Dude, I hate that this is literally how they try to live their lives and say, listen, as long as it pisses libs off, that's all I care about. Every policy that they're doing is going to make me more fucking poor and make me not be able to pay my fucking bills. But as long as the libs are pissed off, that's all that matters, brother. Like, what the fuck? Your life is significantly harder because of the people you vote for. Stop voting for them.
The day with Ty taking the lead, holding 98 followers, and Timber sitting at 94. Well, today is day 5, and something very important happened today. For the first time ever, I agreed with Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Americans want cheap gas, groceries, bills, and housing. They want affordable insurance, safe communities, and good education for their children. They want a government that works on these issues. Considering Americans pay for the entire government and government salaries with their hard-earned tax dollars, this is where our focus should be, not going into another foreign war.
So this is kind of like...
SCal literally talks about this all the time. It's incredible that conservatives constantly advocate for literally communism, but just don't like the word communism. Adversity builds character. That's what I was saying earlier, Ossiver, about Super Loop's kids. You should not actually raise your children. They should fend for themselves. Competition, baby, it makes them stronger. It makes them stronger. Competition makes them stronger. Out of the womb, they got to be feeding themselves. Well, I don't know about all that. They're lying every time. Exactly. It's right on the money. I don't know about all that. Like, I also want to ask them, like, do you think that you, as a citizen of your country, have to know literally everything? That you have to know every physics, every science, every scientific knowledge, all of that stuff in order to actually think that you need to be well informed? Or do you think you assign experts in the field to make sure that all the correct things are happening?
Like, the whole goal of this video, Marjorie Taylor Greene is already there. Obviously, before making this video, I didn't realize that the escalation of this conflict.
All the
would get to this
physicists,
point,
yeah.
But it is
I couldn't get the words out. I'm sorry, Super Loops, but you know what I meant. Also, there are people that literally believe that. That literally believe that you should teach yourself everything and not learn from the people that came before you.
extremely interesting to see how much the MAGA
But what if they're gay? Checkmate, liberals. That's right. True.
coalition is splitting right now. And Timber Slocum, for one, is on the side of peace. I stand with President Trump. Fight, fight, fight. The only thing Trump is fighting for is Israel.
Oh my God.
Well,
Banger
replying
fucking
on the
tweet.
right-wing accounts was
Banger tweet.
super fun and really enjoyable. I thought it was only fair to participate in some healthy discourse with some more left-leaning influencers as well. Hassan said, Americans always claim they like right-wing legislation until they experience it. Almost 20-point on swing on immigration without Dems leading the charge on counter-messaging.
I say this.
Now
I say this literally all the time. That like, conservatives will not advocate for a progressive or a civil rights humanitarian policy until they are affected. I said this about trans rights. I said this about gay rights. I said this about pretty much everything, right? Like when the Medicaid is cut off, there's going to be a lot of pissed off people. There's going to be a lot of pissed off people. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to violently oppress the people that are standing up for themselves and for their neighbors. It's going to happen. Like, what do you think that money going to ICE and being like one of the most funded militaries in the world is going to do? That's what's going to happen. It's going to be bad. Leftists are always right, just not at the right time. And not at the right time because liberals choose when that time is. I think it'd be sick if every person learned every subject, but we don't have to be experts in something and think critically about it. Yeah. Like that's why I advocate for like post-secondary education, whether it's like a trade school or a community college or something like that, because you develop your critical thinking ability. Like in high school, you develop critical thinking like a little bit, but you don't really gain the foundation of critical thinking ability until like post-secondary. And college or trade school is a safe space to do that. Because like you have to be able to question things. And if you question things under a controlled environment like college, like a trade school, like a community college or something like that, then you don't get super harmed by it, right? So like if you come out of high school and someone comes up to you and be like, oh, you want to make a shit ton of money on like this crypto stuff? But like if you're coming out of high school, you're like, oh, fuck yeah, I want to fucking do that. If you don't have a safety net, you're going to get scammed and you're going to be fucked the rest of your life. Like, don't get me wrong, the credit card kiosk and shit that happen in college and stuff are super exploitative and taking advantage of young people constantly. Because like I've heard stories about college kids, they would sign up for those credit cards and then literally just throw their credit card bills into the trash when it came in. Can't take the treats away from the hogs. Yeah. Crazy the cops are still anti-COVID, anti-vax, given how much of them got wiped out by it. Yeah. Yeah. COVID was literally the leading cause of death for like 2.5 years. It was a preventable disease. I said to a cop, I have a cop on my baseball team, and I said to him, I'm like, the leading cause of death for cops was COVID for 2 years. Outside of that, it was car accidents, heart attacks, and friendly fire. Not from criminals. Not from criminals as they claim. The leading causes of death are literally their own fault. Do I really want those people to have weapons? Fuck no. Do I want them to have a monopoly on the violence? No. I also want to do a video on the Supreme Court decision that basically said that police departments can discriminate against smart people from being in the police force. We just got to do more compromise, even when nobody asks or knows what they're talking about. That's true. More importantly, can't let AI do all your schoolwork, and you have to learn bullshit things yourself to be able to see when someone else is bullshitting you. Yes, 100% JD. That's correct. Yeah, you can't let AI do your work. That's why I think the school districts that are doing no homework policies, I think that's a really, really good idea, because then you can kind of control whether the students are using AI or something to do their work and everything like that.
If we had good leaders. And then you have a chart of the approval of Donald Trump's, policies and key issues. And they've all gone down since February. They must have only polled Marxist libs because this does not seem accurate at all. If liberals were actually Marxists, we'd be better off. The whole problem is that they are capitalists, just like the GOP. You're telling me Schumer and Hakeem Jeffrey aren't raging communists? Leave your bubble, bro. What communist policies have they done? Trans bathrooms? Ah, yes. How could I forget that very famous bill? My bad, bro. Glad you got it. Yeah, so Tyler Axton is really...
Banger. Speed, accuracy, violence.
Accuracy and violence. We have another one about Mamdani from Ultra MAGA Joyce Day. Second in the polls for the New York City Democrat primary for mayor is a Muslim. And do you think that New Yorkers are crazy enough to vote for a Muslim after 9/11? Fair point, but their other option is a sweaty Italian. I'm not sure if New Yorkers have forgotten about Mussolini either. I don't like the thought of another 9/11. Here I got into a fight with a right-winger who no longer...
Wait, I'm sorry. Do these MAGA people not remember that Rudy Giuliani was the mayor of New York City during 9/11? Based on their logic, wouldn't that mean a Republican mayor would be the likelihood of another 9/11 happening? Based on their logic. That's all I want to point out. Based on their logic.
supports Trump. We must protect Israel. Why? Just why? Because America is about supporting others. That's what makes us great.
Ooh.
Trump knows it. Wrong.
Gaslighting him.
He won. You lost. Get over it. I lost? WTF are you talking about? I voted for the idiot. Idiot. It's crazy.
Oh, you voted for
All
Kamala?
turning on Trump right
That's
now.
what he should have replied.
Because
Damn
we
it.
reached the halfway point of our class consciousness journey and gained a few followers on both accounts. It was finally time to start doing a bit of gaslighting around a few key issues that Timber and Ty found very important. Kicking things off with healthcare. All right, you know what? I think it's time for some MAGA threads. American healthcare is in shambles. Elon can fix it. Premiums, copays, and deductibles.
Just post the Rudy farting clip.
All of these things have in common. I don't know what the they mean. Hell, Obama did the same thing with Obamacare. Just call it healthcare. Don't put your foreign sound.
Ghost going undercover as a hog agent would be so good. More like Kamala, that's right. Do y'all want me to do that? Do y'all want me to make the same video as Ben a minute? Do you want me to do that? Or do you want me to make Uncle Clark videos? I feel like I could do this.
A name in front of it if you want Americans to actually use it. No legals and no trains. Affordable healthcare is for all Americans. Thank you, Elon and Doge. Nice.
No trains.
So we'll see how that one does. What? Good points made here. Hashtag MAGA. Who is Mary Faith? Now we're going to see what Timber Slocum has to say about American healthcare. Here's how Trump's big beautiful bill helps healthcare. Mainstream media is lying to you again. MSNBC.
I don't know. We might lose you. You might get too deep in the role play. I might make the bag. I might accidentally make a lot of money. I might accidentally make a lot of money and I'll have to go like my full-blown incel arc.
CNN and all of these un-American media giants are trying to make Trump's big beautiful bill look like...
Watching this video made me think this would be a great competition. Who could grift the hardest to the right? God, I think we could do it. I should reach out to him. I should reach out to him and show him my Uncle Clark. I should show him my Uncle Clark content. I have like 3 minutes of it. And like, God, I hate that I know so much fucking right-wing brain slop.
Like it's cutting Medicaid and Medicare. Read my lips. It's not. This is a lie. I went through the whole bill, and nowhere does it say anything about cutting spending.
God, he has 108,000 subscribers.
Not a cutting bill. I'm so sick of the lies and the manipulation. Wake up, sheepos. Oh, it's already got a response.
See, I think what would be better is if you, and maybe he'll do this in his next video, but I think what they should do is, I don't know if this would work though. So you do a bunch of days of replying all MAGA stuff, right? And you just keep doing it, right? And then you just delete all the tweets, completely change the account after you get all the followers and everything, and just go full-blown like commie or something like that. So one, that would be funny, because then they'd be following like a communist account. The other thing you could do is slowly transition into it, which is kind of what he's doing with these accounts. And it's fucking banger every time. So now it's going to make me think that literally everything on Twitter is just some kind of lefty just gaslighting all right-wing people.
I agree. My grandma relies on those checks too. Trump girl.
I guess at some point I rated.
Babies.
Oh, welcome in,
First
SCal.
MAGA proud
Yeah,
gun owner.
Yeah, Ged's rated in.
Alabama. Neo-Marxism is destroying this nation. Who the hell is this?
You need to like look cute.
Wait, what is this?
Saying that, and I don't know what to do. We didn't think Timber and Tom could do this all on.
Oh my God, he made a third account. He made a third account and he dressed in drag for the third account. Oh my God, this is so fucking good.
Their own? Did you? This guy's entire presidency is falling
He's in
apart
our
over his
walls.
inability to tell Israel no. I'm gonna guess there will be no making America
Is this the gaslighting conservatives to be woke? Yes, it is, SCal.
great. Mary Faith responded and said, I voted for peace. He's not living up to his promise. I'm not American, but this kind of makes me laugh.
SCal, we were talking earlier. JD thinks I should do this. JD thinks I should go down the rabbit hole and do this exact shit that Ben a Minute does. Oh, this video's prime is so good so far. JD thinks I should do this. I should make this content. I'd be so fucking good at it. I'd be so good.
His campaign was paid for by Adelson and weapon manufacturers. What did you expect? Seriously, how could you have been so naive? There's a lot.
I thought you should do it too, just never brought it up to you. Oh man, I could do this. I think I need to steer into my Uncle Clark character. I think I need to create a bunch of shorts of my Uncle Clark character from that bootlicker video.
Going on right now, please don't be mean to me. With my little right-wing militia fully up and running and ever so slowly shifting their focus away from identity politics to class
You
politics.
should do this, but on the Citizen app. See, whatever the hogs use. See, I would like that would be awesome doing it on like True Social and shit like that. But like, I know that they collect a shit ton of fucking data. So I would like them to not have my data. So like when the camps do come, when the camps do come, maybe I have some time to, you know, resist or get away. I mean, I guess I could get a VPN. Oh, I should reach it. I guess I'm not big enough to get like a VPN sponsorship or anything like that.
Politics. I was feeling pretty good about the impact that I was having on this app. So I woke up this morning and realized that Brian Krasenstein, who's like a big politics guy on Twitter, he
Is
has
it
like
burner phone the register?
almost 1 million followers.
Yeah, but when I be tweeting,
following my account.
yeah, but when I be tweeting, it would be, God, I'd have to buy a burner from them. I'll think about it. If they come for me, they'll have to get through my shotgun. VPN? Yeah, VPN would do it. I just don't want to pay for it because I'm broke.
Mary Faith. And Mary Faith only has 55 followers. So I don't know how he found me
You know, burner phone for True Social.
or why he's following me, but yeah. Marjorie Taylor Greene went back to spewing nonsense that I absolutely can't stand. This is my Marjorie Taylor Greene impression. We must pass my Protect Children's Innocence Act to end barbaric genital mutilation surgeries on kids in all 50.
So Marjorie Taylor Greene is against circumcision, chat. Book it. Book it here. Book it here, chat. Marjorie Taylor Greene is against circumcision. Molvad, best VPN. Okay.
States. But didn't you get bottom surgery at one point? Here we have a right-winger questioning her beliefs. I'm all for protecting kids, and I love the patriot spirit here, but I'm kind of confused. How do we define barbaric surgeries? And what about kids with legit medical needs?
Oh, God, I forgot. Ghosty, did you get a link from me in the last few days? Being vague on purpose? Yes, I did. And I marked it as unread so I come back to it, so I don't forget about it. Yes, I did, Ari.
President Trump's approval rating has risen to 56% nationwide. That's surprising with everyone acting like they don't like him now. And to my surprise, Timber, Ty, and Mary Faith weren't the only right-wingers who were questioning their allegiance to the MAGA.
Paul Wall, that website's not loading. The website's not loading. Oh, now it is.
Administration. We had this clip from an interview with Ted Cruz from the Tucker Carlson show.
How many people live in Iran, by the way? I don't know the population. At all? No, I don't know the population. You don't know the population of the country you seek.
God, I hate that we sided with Tucker Carlson, but he fucking burned him. If Tucker Carlson get keylogged. What? I didn't get keylogged. This one? Yeah, that one wasn't showing up for me. It said it was timing out the connection or something like that. But it just, the other link came up on Google, from Google.
To topple?
Maybe helping Israel attack Iran might be bad for us. I might be with Tucker Carlson on this one. Now, Timber Slocum on day 6 is kind of just starting to pretty much hate Trump at this point, and he feels very duped, along with half of Twitter right now. This morning, Trump put this huge flag in front of the White House or something. Who cares? Gunther said, "God bless America." That's awesome, but can he lower the prices of groceries?
Accidentally pinned something?
Because they're
Okay.
really fucking high right now. People like Timber. Timber Slocum. I will never have full closure in life.
There,
until
I'll put
I
the
own a
link up
fully
again.
Automatic M4 rifle. Get you one, brother. It's a game changer. He's referring to my profile picture, which is sick. The other day when I posted this fun little tweet about how the big beautiful bill will actually help healthcare and expand Medicaid and Medicare, that was a joke. The point of this was to, the title of the video, gaslight Republicans, right? And then today, when I hop onto Twitter, all of the Republican representatives supporting this one big beautiful bill are doing the same thing that I'm doing. President Trump's one big beautiful bill is not a tax break for the wealthy. It puts rural, hardworking
Well, that is great. Would recommend.
Americans first. The One Big Beautiful Bill protects Medicaid for Americans who truly need it. President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill delivers big tax cuts for our families, supports our farmers, invests in our small businesses, and grows U.S. manufacturing. The One Big Beautiful Bill delivers the largest tax cut for working and middle-class families in American history. This is a joke. I don't even have to be the one gaslighting them on here because all of their representatives and the entire party is doing that for me. Slowly but surely, all three of them are waking up to the truth. Some a bit faster than others. Poor cops. They can never catch a break. But I still wanted to know which account resonated with right-wingers the most at the end of the 10 days. Was it going to be Ty Braxton? Democrats don't want you to know this. You do realize that the 8 million people losing Medicaid and the 3 million losing SNAP benefits are not entitled to those benefits in the first place. It's called fraud. I hate Dems more than anyone, but my mom lost her Medicaid and SNAP, and TBH, she really needed it.
Yeah.
Just in, PM Netanyahu says Israel does not need America's help to reach its goals in Iran.
Yeah, okay.
Great, then let's stop sending them billions of dollars.
Boom.
Or was it going to be
Boom.
Mary Faith
Roasted.
Hanley? A visual guide to Fordo, Iran's secretive nuclear site that only a U.S. bomb could destroy. Iran doesn't have nukes. This is Bush's WMDs all over again.
Based?
Stop with the propaganda, BBC.
Woke propaganda.
Okay, wow. It is day 8. And things are good. We got 455 followers with Timber Slocum. We got 399 followers with Ty Braxton.
Dude,
and we
it's
got
so
88
easy.
followers with Mary Faith. I don't really know what it is, but people just aren't really responding well to her. I'm out here working hard every day, but when I gotta see the doc, it costs me more than my paycheck.
BBC Big Beautiful Cock.
Hours a week and still can't afford rent, but my boss drives a new truck.
That's
every
right.
year. Does that mean he's like stealing my work
That's
or
right.
something? Not only were we going
That's
a little
right.
Marxist on day 8.
That's
but
right,
we're
brother. He's
also
stealing my
learning
work.
the power of union.
He's stealing the value that I create. The surplus value.
Money than us. My hometown of Chattanooga is becoming a liberal hellhole. Breweries, woke museums, and thrift stores for bisexuals. I hate these places and all of the granola purple-haired freaks who work there. And the worst part is they are snobby as hell and a bunch of entitled libs because they get paid more than I do at my Coca-Cola bottling job. Well, I was curious just how much they were getting paid, so I asked one of these nose-pierced losers, and guess what she or he or whatever the hell said? $35 an hour. Apparently, this libard was able to ask for a raise because all the employees at the bisex thrift store threatened to quit. Hashtag
Whoa.
mind virus.
Whoa.
That's already got 1 retweet and
Whoa.
1 like. Nice. All right. So yeah, the plan now is to just
Whoa.
keep tweeting more and more about the failures of the American dream and then see if people start latching onto it. Well, we bombed Iran. Well, today is day 10, our final day of gaslighting Republicans into developing class.
Oh, he is the red. He is the. Well, on my screen, it looks like he is the red problem. But like on the broadcast, it doesn't look like it. On my screen, it looks like he is the red problem that I have on my broadcast that we fixed with the help of Okayish. Chat, go check out Okayish. Give Okayish a follow.
I've been doing this for exactly 17 days. 10 of those days I was tweeting all day.
Yeah, I'm gonna end stream.
Bro, what is that image? That is a cursed image right there. That is a cursed image.
And I cannot believe what has transpired just in the past 17 days. This might age poorly, but I believe that June, this past month, has been one of the most impactful, important months.
Totally normal image, GD.
At least May.
GD, what's it like having the same name as like the biggest dupe vice president that's ever lived? No, I like that image. No, like I need that image. I mean, can you screenshot that and then Google reverse search it?
Hey, we would see this whole thing come full circle, with Mary Faith, Ty, and Timber fully embracing their new visions of a brighter American future as they finally developed.
It's not my name, so I'm chilling.
You don't work for yourself anymore. You work for them. And that's no accident. It's a deliberate attack on independence, on masculinity, on the American dream. We rent everything. We own nothing. Once a man could work his land, build his shop, pass down his tools. Now, globalist elites and government overreach have made it nearly impossible.
I took on JD for Twitch. JD, I found it. You're welcome.
Do you believe the elites have stripped everyday patriots of their God-given right to own what they produce? So this got about 7,000 views. It got 2 likes, 2 retweets. It had 75 people voting in it. And overwhelmingly, 78.7% of them said, yes, you should not separate the workers from the means of
Paul's not my real name either. Really, Paul? I didn't realize that. My bad.
production. So yeah, there's some right-wing Marxists out there somewhere. And my God, I do not know what it was. I did not plan on this, but my timeline today was the worst I have ever seen it. Oh, breaking news. The Supreme Court says Trump can literally kill people. Who gives a shit? What the fuck? It was a 6-3 vote, so those who vote against it, are they basically just going against the law for their own interests or beliefs? Do you know how the
Soup is actually my government name? Dude, that would be a dope. It's Mrs. Loops. That would be a dope name. Super. Hi, I'm Loops. Super Loops. That'd be an awesome
Major
name.
win for the future of this country.
It's like, I don't know. This is my Christian. This is my Christian name.
Round them up and get them in.
Not my government name, my Christian name.
I'm so tired of being on this app. I'm so done with this. Keep mass deporting. I hate everybody on this platform. I hope all of you know, if you're watching this, Cody, Adam, the Undercurrent, Astronaut, the New Mexico Ranger, if any of you are watching this video right now, I want you to know that one day you're going to look back at your life and it's all going to be completely meaningless. And you're going to realize...
What if it's Super Loops Mills? BRB meaning, no problem.
That you were on the wrong side of everything. Everything that you believed was a lie. Everything you went along with, everything you thought your entire life was wrong. Because you always chose hate over anything else. Because going after and attacking the most vulnerable people in our country just to make...
Maiden name is Kellogg? Gotta be true to the Lord. That's right, brother.
A little bit better about your stupid, meaningless life.
Go off, Ben.
Pathetic.
Go off, Ben.
You don't deserve to be here. You don't deserve to live in this country. Get the fuck out. Jesus Christ.
We
Go
call
off, King.
ourselves the party of patriots and freedom, but we become the party of sheep.
Blame the illegals. Fear the scary trans kid. Stop woke. It's all a bunch of smoke and mirrors.
Whoa.
You've been crying over drag queens and Mexicans. Your
Dude,
rent doubled.
Your town lost
You
its
just
factory.
put the same tweet up on all 3 accounts?
Is their only shot at cancer treatment. You're being duped because they.
There's another
think
streamer
you're
who
dumb.
calls me his
They
favorite
turned
cereal,
our government
which is
into
cute
a
and
money
nice.
laundering machine for Israel's dumbass wars
and Raytheon's profits while calling you lazy for not being able to afford groceries. If you're still buying this culture war bullshit, then you're a pathetic snowflake.
This system doesn't care about you. It never did. And until you realize that, your life won't get better. It'll
Based.
get worse.
Based.
You're being gaslit,
and you don't even know it.
Based.
Wake up.
Based. Based.
Well, after 17 days had passed, 10 of those consisting of tweeting throughout the entire day, I amassed a total of 944 followers and tweeted over 734 times.
Damn.
Adding together all of the posts that revolved around waking up to the class divide and criticizing the current administration, I received 157 likes and 28 retweets. And remember, all of my followers and all of the engagement were coming from right-wingers. So from only doing this for 10 days...
Besides him?
I think
Wait, what account was that? Oh, Brian Krasenstein.
coming from right-wingers. So from only doing this
Wait,
for
isn't
10
Brian
days,
Krasenstein a fucking
I think it's
right-winger?
safe to say that there is some appetite for latching on to the reality of class politics. And we saw this firsthand. I interacted with so many Republican voters who had lost their faith in Trump and regretted their vote. And this is just in the past few weeks. And if they hadn't completely turned on him yet, they were at least questioning some of his decisions. And before I started making this video, I was not expecting to see this Republican rejection of Trump that was happening on Twitter. Now, of course, it's not like everyone has changed their minds overnight, and your usual suspects of right-wing influence are sticking to their pro-Trump propaganda.
I don't think so. I don't know, though. I just assumed he was a lib. I thought he said some psychotic shit.
Scripts. However, after spending over 60
Well, I mean,
hours
libs
on
are
right-wing
technically
Twitter for the past
conservative,
month,
so...
I noticed some overarching themes that I think are worth taking a look at. No matter where you lean politically, the American two-party system will always foster this us versus them style of politics. However, I do believe that instead of right versus left, or U.S. citizen versus undocumented migrants, or closeted homosexuals versus trans people, we can all one day get on board with the real war that is yet to be waged. The real us versus them. And to put it in the simplest terms possible, just so everybody can understand it, it's the hardworking patriots versus the elitist pricks. This idea of a proletarian revolution against the bourgeoisie has been defined as an inevitable ending to the blight that is capital. Oh my God, what are they doing? I'm sorry, I think my roommates are developing class consciousness in the garage again.
They left and right like pawn on the run. Like pawn. Like pawn on the run. Well, everybody says that's just the way things go. But proud to feed the rich while the poor bear the load. The flag that he held high now feels like a disguise. Cause like a broken pawn, he's done believing
Banger.
lies.
Banger.
He walks through the fields heading down to the Union. His boots caked in mud from the hot morning sun. He gave all his ears to a boss who deceived him and left him to ride.
I need those shorts.
Like a pawn.
He's got to do leg day. He's got to do leg day. He's got chicken legs.
Come share a pint of truth and stir your weary pride. We'll talk about the dream and who that dream denied. We used to blame the illegals and trans athletes. Now we see the banker's feast was built on our defeat. He walks through the fields heading down to the Union. His boots caked in mud from the hot morning sun. He gave all his ears to a boss who deceived him, then left him to ride like a pawn on the run. Like a pawn.
You know I love thighs. He does need leg day. He's lacking. Yeah, he's got to get the thunder thighs like I do.
If you enjoyed this video,
chat,
you know what to do.
I hope you watch the video alongside this, but make sure you give it a like, give it a thumbs up.
You know how
Make
it
sure you
goes.
subscribe
Also,
to the
go
channel.
Check out my Patreon. It's so sweet. People need to check it out. I upload content early on there. I also
Pretty sure
upload
I'm already
thumbnail
subscribed.
Updates. You can see what the thumbnail of a video looks like a month before the video comes out.
Ooh.
Kind of
Ooh.
cool, I guess. So yeah,
Yeah, he
go
just
check it
came out with a new one.
You support my channel by supporting my Patreon. And
Banger. Banger fucking video.
yeah, formerly known as Twitter.
Banger video. God, that was so much fun. Oh, that was so much fun, chat. Also, I'm hearing chat think that I should do a video like that myself. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. Unfortunately, it's come to that time, though, where I have to end stream and send you all somewhere. I have to send you all somewhere. I don't know where to send you. Oh, do y'all want to go see? Do y'all want to go see LB and Celticness? Talk about analyze their video and talk about historical Irish history and everything like that. Do y'all want to go there, or do you want to go to a more chill stream? No? Okay, if you're not responding, then I'm going to make a decision. More chill? More chill? All right. Let's go over to Okayish. I don't get a chance to raid Okayish very often. So I'm going to go show some love to Okayish. We just did this? I was cooking there. I was cooking. I loved reacting to that shit. I do love reacting to it. I'm such a little slut for React content. Chat. Here are the raid messages. First one are those that are not subbed. Next two are those that are subbed. As I said, I will not be live tonight. I mean, maybe I'll play a couple hours. Maybe I'll go live a couple hours. I doubt it, though. We're here for it. I am working 2 rounds tomorrow, 2 rounds Saturday, and then I have baseball on Sunday. I do not know when I'll be live again, but pay attention to the Ghost Cord. If I don't go live, I will recommend one of my streamer friends. So be sure to look out for that on the Ghost Cord. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it so much. Little slut, eh? Yes, I'm a slut because I don't get paid for it. Which I guess I get paid for it. But yeah, thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate it. I would love for this to be my full-time job where I can do this every day, where I could stream during the day every day. But unfortunately, that's not where we're at. Anyway, wherever you are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good night. See y'all later. Free Palestine. Go have fun with Okayish.